Nice condemned by Zweon, having an idea that Bin was going to go forward for that. Now Bin could find himself in trouble. The stun's on Zweon, they throw a rock at him. Bin will be able to limp away. Here comes an Ezreal for downtown. This looks like it's got a chance, Quacks! And it's gonna Jackie Love from downtown!
Going to try to do with this Rift Herald. Still some standing gold, but there's no outer turrets left, so it's going to have to be a tier 2 that they go for. As Way steps forward, almost dies for it. Jackie Love going to get a trap put under him. He's going to have to be careful now as he almost gets flashed on there. Renard, what was that? Oh my god, my eyes! As we do see Cream on the back line trying to go in, but it's going to be the engage coming through from Zweon that sets everything up with the wild growth on top of it. I thought I was seeing ARAM mayhem happen on my screen, but it's really just top esports trouncing IG.
And Breathe, unfortunately, not able to get in or do anything.
Oh, Breathe.
I don't know if they want to be able to send it with Paranoia and Vampire walking up as well. This looks very reminiscent of the Anyone's Legend series. Junja goes in first. Xiaoshu trying to follow up.
Dead.
There's a TP coming from Hongq. And Weibo Gaming are in a world of trouble as Vampire finally connects the Pop Blossom. But just as I say that, they've lost out on their two frontliners. Vampire might be the next one to fall. Jinja goes in. He finds the kick on the goal. There's no flash on him. Kill this guy.
Coming on in is going to be Bin with the 30% HP shield. Aeon going to try to turn on to him. The public execution is going to get spell shielded. The fear lands instead. Clutch charge from Hog. Grabs 4 members. Viper takes down Tarzan and allows Bin to drop with some grace. Featherstorm comes back out. A blade caller needs to come through for Viper and he rips Shakes to shreds with it. Viper going absolutely crazy, but he can't find the clutch kills because Hope is running amok with the double marksman power. But they don't even get into the pit. Instead, Hongq gets sent into the egg form. How well can JG stall? The Crescent Guard for Junja is so valuable here. Hongq will be resurrected. Junja with the GA will drop into his own stasis. Hongq takes the portal out to safety. Hoya's trying to hunt him down, but he can't throw the barn at him into safety. Junja will get cut down by Asu, who's gliding around this fight all on his own. JDG gets split apart and pulled down from the seams. NIP out of nowhere.
Welcome back, everyone, to the LPL English broadcast, where we bring you what we can confidently call, as of this split, Cubby, the best region in the world in English. So, as we get into today's series, we have got a lot to cover. There are 3 series happening today, and Cubby, you and I are starting off with the one that I'm going to call confidently the best because we're on it. It's Top Esports versus NIP.
I mean, it does help that Top Esports is currently on top of the standings, and NIP coming off of a big 2-0 over BLG just the other night, Dia. As we woke up, we had to change the game plan a little bit for what we wanted to talk about this morning, because that was a bit of a surprising result for us.
Yeah, and you know, we always knew Top Esports were going to be a challenge. I think that the thing that's really surprised a lot of teams, not just us here on the broadcast about this season, is how up to it the Ninjas in Pajamas seem to be. Being a team that did just qualify into Group Ascend after last split, they changed very little in all honesty, really only moving around awesome, and have managed to make it all the way into top 3, really continuing the momentum that they set for themselves with the end of last split. And, you know, talking a little bit about the champion pools, we'll get to do that for Awesome a little bit later, but suffice to say that things have worked out, even when NIP are experimenting, quite well.
Yeah, I mean, Awesome is having one of the better splits out of all the marksmen that we've had so far in the LPL, so to see him really step into this role, step up, and NIP is really the surprise of the split so far, which is kind of fun for me because, if anything, I think the other surprise of the split is the fact that Top Esports does sit atop the standings of the LPL.
Mm-hmm. And Top Esports are one of the big 3 matchups that NIP have had coming up towards the end of the split, with one already completed going against BLG, and then, of course, the Top Esports. They have also got AL. We'll actually try and bring it up just to illustrate exactly how it is going against sort of the titans of the LPL as they currently stand, because this is one of the, as I used earlier, big 3 matchups for NIP that, should they overcome the majority of, I am absolutely willing to throw my full belief behind NIP.
And look, I think sometimes that when you get statistics, there are times where you get good snapshots of the league. Approaching the end of the first round robin, we're starting to get a good snapshot of what the league looks like. NIP being here is a big surprise, as of course Hoya, Guwan, Care, Awesome, and Zhuo will be hitting the Rift tonight, and trying to surprise for the second night in a row, Dia, by taking down Top Esports after they took down BLG yesterday.
They've got a lot of tools to do it. As we said, Awesome is pretty big in this. I'd throw Guwan in there as well. This is what we were talking about a little bit earlier with the big 3 matchups that they've got. 2 of them already out of the way. BLG, they managed to win. AL, I think the sort of expected loss, which is a strange thing to say considering they beat BLG. And now it leaves me in a bit of a conundrum, Cubby. I don't know what's going to happen against Top.
I mean, look, I feel like this is a graphic that, at least expectation-wise, we almost made to set NIP up to fail in a way. You're going up against AL, BLG, and Top Esports, and of course, I mean, the last cast that we were on for NIP, we were setting it up as, hey, their record's good, their strength of schedule, though, hasn't been quite as strong yet. And that is when they fell 1-2, I believe, or beat Weibo 1-2. It was one or the other, but it was a challenging matchup for him, right? And to see NIP really now go from that, understand they are going against at the top of the table, and I think they had some good play last night on top of some really good drafts coming out of NIP overall that I feel like gave them edge into BLG. We're going into this Top Esports series with the opportunity to really change the narrative around what the top of the table actually looks like, because a win here puts NIP tied with Top Esports and BLG after beating them in the last 2 days. So that is pretty crazy if they were to pull this one off.
It is the final Infinity Stone in NIP's round robin run, and we did get to take a look at how they took out BLG. In case you missed the series, I'd of course recommend going back and watching it, but one of the things that really stood out about this series, and that we should keep in mind coming into today, Cubby, is how powerful NIP were in the late game.
Yeah, I think the finds that they were able to create later on, of course, having the Ashe Seraphine helps, but Guwan was really getting the engine rolling here for NIP in these 2 games, which the comeback win's one thing. I really feel like NIP They had a moment where they failed to hit the Nexus and actually break it. That got Hexel over to BLG. And then they took this fight where Shun going in might have costed his team the game. But we do have to give Hoya some praise at least coming out. As I really feel like NIP, from top to bottom, had a series where they competed with BLG. And yes, I like the drafts that they had. I feel like playing Viari with Ash Seraphine is a very solid core where you have Gnar that can function later on. But this draft, the Gragas pick from Hoya, playing that into Jace and Akali, I think Gragas really stymies so much of what BLG can do in the fights. And then when you have Hoya finding angles like this from Fog, as BLG had no idea he was tucked away in that bot Tribrush, has a huge fight, really sets up his team to run with this game from here on out. We know that Hoya is more of a supportive piece for this team. When he's able to set up his team the way that he did, I know Awesome's been the big talking point, but to have Hoya also kind of have that assist from the top lane, that is an NIP that did take down BLG and what they're going to need again tonight against Top Esports.
And if you have been a fan of NIP for a while, if you were watching them last split, it's also a return to exactly what made NIP so good then, because towards the end of last split, we saw Hoya picking up more of the Varus tops and trying to, I would say, top gap teams into a win. But when he started the split last split, and what he's returned to this split is in large part being that big piece that makes space for the rest of the team, and that is so good at creating that. I think Hoya does a great job of knowing exactly where to be in the front line, and is definitely another player that we can keep our eyes on today. Of course, there are 10 of them, and we only talked about 5 so far, so on the other side of the rift, Top Esports, the team that are the favorites coming into today, and I'm not going to beat around the bush with that. We're all excited about NIP's possibilities, but Top Esports, they're the team that should win.
I really feel like, I mean, just this team going from really the horrendous end to split 1, everything that happened with Nio, into Tien stepping in, Cream's leveled up, Zweon's been huge for this team, and Fungiway and Jackulov, it really feels like, are starting to continue to climb into their own. I don't think their lanes have been the best, but we've still seen them really pump out the damage in team fights for Jackulov. Top Esports has been a team where they've been one of the biggest and I think most pleasant surprises. As we know, the names on paper can compete on the top of the league, looking at the core 3 in the middle, but to have Fungiway and Zweon really step up in the way that they have to play with this team and to put them at the top of our standings, that has been a big surprise. One of the biggest surprises we've had in the LPL so far. So I really think that this matchup, just given that NIP is coming off the win, again, I think that the drafts really helped against BLG. I don't think that BLG has really been at their best of late, because they're giving Bin a lot of carries in the side lane and not a lot of support to help out. And also, I think sometimes those carries are picked in the wrong scenarios. I don't know if that's going to be an issue tonight for Top Esports, but it was one that NIP was really able to punish last night. And I think kind of adds an interesting flair to this matchup tonight, which, again, with an NIP win, has the potential to really turn the top of our standings in Group Ascend upside down.
Every league has one of them, Cubby. A carry player, especially a top laner, that is so up and down, depending on the resources that they get, and honestly, the mood that they're in. In CBLOL, we have Robo, and here in the LPL, we've got Bin. And
so
not
what
gonna
you're
happen in
saying,
this series, of course. Yeah.
What you're saying is that he's just been honoring the Shy of late. Is really what you're hinting at.
It's true.
It's
a time-honored tradition among top laners.
I wish the Shy was still here to be himself, but that's okay. We've got Bin, who one of the best players we have in the league, hasn't been at his best of late. But again, tonight we'll see if Hoya finding a 2-0 over Bin and doing it into Zoyan, who again has been, I'd say, off to a decent start with just what we've seen out of him. I know that following what Nymera has said about Zoyan, it was a rough debut for him the first time he had LPL. He didn't get a lot of games. Now with Top Esports, I mean, he really feels like a young asset to this team. And the fact that Tien has the crew running at the pace that they are now, it's been a really pleasant surprise. I cannot stop singing the praises of Top Esports, which is not usually a position I find myself in.
We're lucky enough to have that this split, and while we have been focusing on the top lane, you brought up 2 really important pieces earlier. Fengyue and Zhuo, players that I want to keep my eyes on, but it's more about how they enable these carries. Awesome and Jackulov, who, as we've already mentioned, Awesome demonstrating a lot of wonderful play during the course of the split, but Jackulov has not exactly escaped praise either.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Jackie has been doing more with less, which is always something that you want to have if you are playing League of Legends. That's valuable to any team. Meanwhile, we talked about how Hoya is a little bit more in that supportive role for NIP. Awesome has been pumping out the damage. He is most played champions Lucian. He only has 5 unique champions played, and he is leading the league, both Group Ascend and Group Nirvana, in damage per minute, as he has really taken the onus of being the big damage dealer for this team. We've seen Awesome playing up in your face, League of Legends being very aggressive, and a lot of the times that's net of this team wins.
On the other end of things, with somebody like Jackie Love, I think you can put him in a similar boat as we had Viper in the BLG series. Absolutely a player that you can rely on, but in the same way as Awesome as Zhuo, have the top esports bot lane been creating their own advantages? I would say no, not nearly as much as NIP, but a lot of that can change in the course of this series. It'll really be down to a bot lane battle I am expecting. The other place, of course, we can look is the mid-jungle duo, the one place that we really haven't touched on yet, but that especially for NIP was pretty darn explosive when it came to their last series up against BLG. Guwon and Carry, you already mentioned the Vi Ahri combination that they had. Guwon in game 2 also picking up Nocturne, made that look really good in a fantastic early game up against Zhao, and I could absolutely see mid lane, or rather mid jungle, be the place where NIP explode here as well, which is great news for us, Cubby, because we've named all 5 roles and gone, well, everybody can pop off, and now we just get to figure out who.
Yeah, I think that at least for Care feels like he's in a much more supportive, I guess, role for this team. I think that a lot of Care's play has been trying to follow up with Guwon, which, again, is working out well. And frankly, a lot of mid laners right now are playing enablers, especially in the LPL, where this is a league that you want to play as fast as possible. That said, I think that Kareem has been one of the mids that actually has had a little bit more focus on the carry champions, a little bit more Aurora in a pool. Of Azir is still a pretty big pick for Kareem. And to be fair to him, Azir has been an issue for him in the past. It's looked better this split. Which I think has been really good for top esports, is that as a champion that always seems to find its way into the meta and matter.
Yeah, I mean, even experimented with a little Cassiopeia, which I don't mind every once in a while. On the other side, of course, for NIP, it has been largely control mages. I am expecting to see a lot of Rise, either in the picks or the bans, but Talia as well. I'd say expected to make an appearance if you've been watching NIP for a while. When we get to the jungle side of this, I think that's where we have the biggest difference, because we have seen Tien be so confident in picking up things like Nefiri as well, the carry champions that can come out of the jungle. A lot more times than not for NIP, you'll see Guwon picking something that, well, it may bring some damage, is much more about enabling the rest of the team. Things like Trundle, things like Nocturne, Vi, of course, but even Mundo has made an appearance for him in this split. The more that Guwon is able to start fights as somebody who brings a little bit of CC, as opposed to something like Nefir, which is polar opposite end, I think the better NIP are going to look.
I mean, look, when your most played mid-jungle duo is Vi Ahri, you probably want to play the game fast. That really has been the name of the game for NIP. And it has been about supporting Awesome in that bot lane, who, again, Awesome has been awesome. So this is an AD carry that I don't think we've ever seen topping the charts of the LPL. And we are almost at the end of the first round robin. Awesome is currently topping the charts of the LPL within his role. So to say that it's kind of exciting to have him going up against Jackie Love, someone that has been perennially a franchise player for top esports, one of the faces of the league in the LPL. We'll see if Awesome and one of Jackie Love's old duos in Zhuo can get the best of them tonight, as Jackie Love and Feng Yue have still been a pretty strong bot lane here in the LPL. I know it doesn't show in the laning stats, but man, as it showed in the fights later on. So we'll see if Awesome and Zhuo, who really have specialized in having strong laning phases, can get the best of them tonight.
I like that you bring it up as well, the fact that Zhuo that should have Jackie Love's number, in theory, on a couple of these plays, given their history together. It could very well happen. We'll start to see the players hit the stage now as they prepare for the draft.
I've seen that be a little bit more vice versa of late. I feel like Jackie Love is usually better at getting the best of all of his ex-teammates' numbers, unless it so happens to be a domestic final. But something that top esports looking to break, as of course they are at the top of the table in the regular season. And I think this is the best I've seen Awesome and Joel look, frankly. Not just as a duo, but also as individuals. So the fact that we're talking about them being able to maybe take down the bot lane of Top Esports, I think it really sings to the praises. And look, we could easily have egg on our face by the end of this broadcast about how Awesome and Joel plays. Top Esports are at the top of the table. But looking at the numbers, Awesome is leading the league in DPM. He is leading ADs. He's top 3 in laning stats in terms of goal difference at 15. This guy's been playing really good league. His team really plays to facilitate him. And that is a role that Jaculov is used to being in with Top Esports. I think it's been a little bit different with Tien kind of running the show and Jaculov playing to be more of the scalers and the late game teamfight threat to play at the beat of Tien's drum, which has been really good for Top Esports, but a little bit different for Jaculov. So we'll see if that ends up coming into play against NIP today.
And I am hoping that with all of that, I mean, like you said, you've had most of the first round robin to do it. Jaculov has been adapting to this playstyle. Is he going to be able to, especially in this matchup where NIP have been really confident playing around Guwan's early games, around either getting him advantages or holding him up in the face of a matchup that may not be as much in his favor? Is Tien going to have the same kind of support from his team, or is it largely going to be a one-man journey? That'll come down, of course, to the playstyle, but also to the draft that, as you mentioned, was a strength for NIP in their BLG series, and we're about to find out whether that stays true for their Top Esports series.
Captain Jaculov leading the charge here, as we're giving out some high fives to the fans, of course, before we hit the stage. And man, it's a full arena tonight for NIP versus Top Esports. Top Esports, always one of the most popular teams that we have over in China, but to see the fans come out for this NIP matchup too, again, NIP is a team that needs to be respected with the league they've been playing of late. BOG did not give them the proper respect yesterday, and we'll see if NIP can take down Top Esports today.
You know what always blows me away about these intros when the player walkouts? No hand sanitizer. That's a lot of high fives, bro.
Maybe it's on the desk, you know? That's a good one. I think that's a good shout, though, Dia. If you're on top of something there.
Listen, I'm looking out for our players' longevity here. Like you say, it is a crowded arena, and we should keep our ears out for it, because as we get into Game 1, and especially as we get into Game 2, those gyos are going to be going crazy.
You know, though, Dia, I really feel like that we could make the ultimate gamer product, all right? Hand sanitizer plus hand warmer. Shake everyone's hand, get to stage, sanitize plus warmed. Market to gamers. Maybe. I mean, that's good man tech right there.
It could be pretty good, right? You know, like you know how you have in hand warmers, especially the old school ones before they were electronic. You had like the crack it. Yeah. I think you could do that with hand sanitizer and
leaks out a little bit. You know,
feel pretty good. Yeah.
I think we're cooking. I think we're onto something.
There's one thing gamers have always wanted. It's wet hands on their keyboard. I'll need to iterate on this a little bit more. But I agree. I think
at least it's not grease.
Something up.
It's not grease, you know. It still is hand sanitizer. So maybe it cleans your keyboard too. I think that's where the real tech is. If it can also clean your keyboard, you know, as you're dabbling, then your hands do the work for you that you don't have to do later. Because cleaning your keyboard is always a pain in the arse.
We can combine it with one of these. Hold up, I have to show you so you get. We can combine it with one of these. You remember that? If we can get all 3 of those in one product, bro, we're gonna be golden. We're gonna be golden.
That's just the logo, you know. And it's like, do you not want to spill soju on your keyboard? We have hand sanitizer for that. I don't know how this adds up. We're still figuring it out. This is what we call workshopping right here.
As soon you'll be able to play League on it as well, as we will, I promise, be getting into the draft pretty soon. Even after we've taken the brief tangent, our focus does remain on this series as the draft will begin. The players as eager to get into it as we are in the Azir that you mentioned earlier, taken off the board, Cubby.
I mean, Azir is something that can play better defense against Viari than most. I really think that Viari could be something that we see out of NIP. If so, I'm curious if they end up denying the Cream Silas that we have yet to see, but that is kind of the arms race when you are facing the Viari that we might end up with. Varus taken off the board. Man, we see all the junglers up on the board. I was about to talk about Nocturne, Pantheon. Nope, it's Awesome's Lucian, the most played champion for him this split. We're taking that over Ashe Seraphine. We don't care. We're playing the Lucian. Gonna get up in your face and see what happens.
I mean, Lucian is feeling even better this patch, and you got to imagine that that's how Awesome is feeling as well. taking the Nocturne here actually not that bad. I wouldn't mind Ashe Seraphine either. I think realistically you're clumping these together though. If you're not taking Ashe Seraphine now, you'll take it later. If you're not taking Nocturne now, you'll take it later. But it makes sense since at least you know that something like Ashe isn't going to be picked, and so you just grab the parts that NIP don't have yet.
One of the things that NIP I think has used well against the Ashe Seraphine has been the Milio, because this is going to be likely a Lucian Milio. The ult from Milio gets you that free cleanse, can be good defense against Encore, and Lucian can really pressure the Ashe. So I think this is just going to be Lucian Milio coming in. If not, we want to try and find different support pairings. You could just slam Viari right now and get your most played mid-jungle duo paired up with your most played marksman and call it a day of comfort going into top esports here for game 1.
Yeah, it's funny because, I mean, I really like locking in Vi Ari now. At the same time, Melio, like, leaving that
Need the pairing.
gone would mean that you're likely flexing to something like Nami, because they're definitely banning Melio. And this does put top esports in an awkward position now. We're going into the second phase. They likely have to think about the Ari and whether they want to ban it or not.
Well, I think you take away Ari, as it has been, again, it's just straight comfort here for NIP, so at least denying the Ari can throw a little bit of that comfort off. Curious what ends up happening with the Rise. Really big power pick and something else that can synergize well with what is showing so far, that Empowered Rune Prison. Great setup for something like Lucian Milio. And I know that Rise has been a really positive pairing with Vi going back to Split 1. They had a really good win rate syncing up throughout all regions, so curious if that ends up being the choice for Care. Oriana's still off the board. That's an early ban here for top esports. That was denied, and the Zero was the response. But I do like where your head's at there, Dia, because we're trying to find ways to attack this Ashe Seraphine and get a buddy for Vi, a little bit of a dive buddy on the backline here.
Yeah, I like my head is in this place where I'm just looking at, okay, where have we played Vi? What have we played with it before? And with now Oriana and Ari removed, honestly, I'm looking far back in the match history, and there's nothing. It's a whole lot of nothing. It's always been at least one of those two, and of course, way more often Vi Ari than not. So the answer for Care here, bit of a mystery, especially with Rise, that sort of generic power pick removed.
Gnar being banned, potentially setting up for something like a Renekton for Hoya if they want to show some more strength, because going up against Ashe Seraphine, that is a lot of scaling that shows. Is Annie taken? That is another piece that can synergize well with the Vi. I think now your options are something like Syndra, which can be a little bit tough to play into a Nocturne, Seraphine, Annie, Ashe, but does have a good lane matchup against the Annie. And the scatters and the synergy with Vi to have that single target one-shot ability is there. So curious if we end up going for something like Syndra.
I'm covering my screen. Just let me know when he locks something in, because my heart was skipping beats every once in a while. Okay,
well, it's a Scion.
Scion.
So, big tank. Ashe, Annie might have a little bit of difficulty with that. But, of course, Zwayon has the opportunity to try and take a tank killer in the top side, as Zahen going to be available for him maybe if he wants it this game. Might be good in a little bit of a low-range comp. And for Care, the Aurora isn't the best CC combo synergy with Vi, but it does give you a lot of damage and does give you a way to try and get out of Ashe Seraphine with that Between Worlds if need be, if everything ends up coming down on you.
And getting out my glasses to look at this, I don't think that I've seen an Aurora from him in Split 2, and thinking back on it, Split 1, I'm not seeing it. I got one Aurora in Split 1 for Care. Definitely not his most frequent of picks. Excited to see it grabbed again, especially, as we said, having not seen it in Split 2. The Ambessa top lane, also a pretty nice pickup for top esports.
Gotta say, with Lucian, Aurora, Milio, of course, if these public executions do hit, they're big. But that is a slippery backline where you can try and hopefully dodge out on that big ability coming out from Zwayon. But I think that the goal for top esports, use the mid-jungle duo to try and get the side laners into the game. As the Ashe Seraphine is going to scale, be that really supportive duo from the bot lane that helps empower your top side. Nocturne has that dive buddy in the Ambessa, and Annie to really drop that big wombo at the top. I'm curious. I really want to see Cream and Fungyue split their engage. Because if they layer it too quickly, that Milio ult, if it is able to be effective, could get NIP out of a lot. So I would like to see them try and layer the ultimates where you're splitting up or forcing Milio to burn the ult early. And then you can maybe follow up with a Tibbers or an Encore later on. Because, of course, that Milio clan is going to be very valuable against everything showing for top esports.
Yeah, Rudude can testify. I have been a big Milio fan in these last couple of patches, and this composition certainly does give a lot of opportunity for Milio to get value. On the other side of this, though, we've talked a little bit about what top esports want to get out of this. One of the things that I really wanted to touch on coming into this is where Ninjas in Pajamas are strong. As we get onto the Rift for Game 1, let's think about how their early game is cooking.
I think we're breaking the speakers over there. As speaking of early game cooking, TN gonna get in, take the Raptors, and abuse the Nocturne power early on. As the AoE damage from the Whirly Birds and the Q is big, and I think he's gonna try and get up in the face of Guwon, who might want to try and pull this camp as far away as possible, or else TN could find the Smite, Steal, and Secure as double twos here. Guwon might get forced off, and this is a disaster start for NIP.
I'm devastated. Well, that answered one question about NIP's early game, and that was whether they were going to be able to support Guwon early on. No, he's getting run down in his own jungle, and nobody can really do anything about it because Jackie Love and Fungyue, they're running down Awesome in the bot lane. Earlier barrier and flash used by NIP, and in terms of things that can go wrong a minute and 30 seconds into the game, we're pretty high up there.
It feels like all the hype from beating BLG just went to the wayside. As this game one is already incredibly top esports favored. I think that Care, if you look at the ward in the Banana Brush in the bottom river, I want to say Care dropped that. His trinket's on cooldown. I think that is what allowed TN to go start the Raptors. There was a ward on the ramp entering the Raptors, so I think the Guwon was playing with false information. Didn't realize that TN was able to actually sneak in and start that. And TN just ends up with the monster start as he crosses over to his bot side, is going to try and contest the bot Crab, where he does have a bot lane that is already winning.
This seems like a pretty easy double scuttle setup for TN. As teleport into the mid lane from Cream has taken this first back and picked up the Dark Seal for a little bit of extra AP, a little bit of extra snowball threat as well. Looking at the solo lanes right now, honestly all of them pretty comfortable. Even up here, Zweon not having too bad of a time against Hoya, who on Sion is going to be an issue for him early.
I wonder how much the big meatball of Sion's going to matter. As we did have TN take his Raps and Red and Cross, so not going to contest the bot Crab. Awesome was coming out of base early, so had full resources over there. Didn't want to risk it for anything else. If TN gets the respawn Raptors, I think the Guwon is just doomed for a lot of the game. And at the moment, it looks like TN, yeah, I think he's going to circle back and play for it, and Guwon is a little lost in the sauce, as this is the most valuable camp for junglers respawning here that TN is going to get on Guwon's side of the map as he gets the first two Raptor spawns of NIP. So, kind of a disaster start here for Guwon and NIP.
He could get the Krugs too if he wants. I mean, I don't think NIP are walking to that top side jungle. What they are doing is walking it down in the bot lane. Awesome's all ready, and Guwon, having been here from before, flashes forward for the first blood. Will get, I think, answered back as a flash from Fenyue's last auto. Does do it 1 for 1, but what a way to recover for Guwon, helping his bot lane get a bit ahead, collecting the kill himself.
Yeah, 1 for 1, not as ideal as he wanted. It puts him further behind. I thought the flash from Fungyue was pretty sweet, though. He shorted the flash. It looked short, but it was actually to flash into maximum auto attack range, kept him out of the most danger. So, small but clean from the support of top esports, as Fungyue is actually able to even that one up. And TN is wrapping up his first clear, which again is a monster clear. He is about to clear out his wolves, take a second spawn of respawn Raptors for himself, as Guwon is going through camps that I don't think he touched the wolves, or his own wolves yet. And the Gromp is respawning, but again, Guwon's map kind of set on fire, as Tien is going to have a massive experience lead early, as Guwon just dinged 4, and Tien just dinged 5, and is coming to take the respawn Raptors and try and be as big as he can to the map yet again.
It's a good time to start talking about experiences. Level 6s are becoming a reality we will soon have to reckon with, not just from the jungle, but from the mid lane as well, where Cream is about to get access to his first couple tibbers of the game. You combine a couple of those around a perfectly timed dragon spawn, and things could go well.
Don't know what happened mid, but mid's already a disaster too, as Karis down about half the CS of Cream, and Cream's up a level. So Cream just, brute force bullying Kair out. I don't really know how Guwon's able to start this dragon. Of course, Vi with Tenting Blows, you'd love to find some early dragons, but with the strength of Tien early on here, I don't think that's going to be an option for Guwon. And if Tien, if he gets this top crab and steals away another set of enemy Raptors, which I think is possible,
he's doing
that's just level 6. That is level 6 for Nocturne, and Guwon's not even level 5. He's going to get 3 Raptors.
Get here in time. I mean, Guwon is D-lining straight for this. You have to imagine his mid laner knows that they want to contest this Raptor spawn.
Oh, he smited it.
The smite denies the big one, which is actually, in terms of level 6s, pretty big.
That was just straight up necessary from him. As Kair is going to eat the Tibbers chunk. Tien, we'll see if this crab is 6. I don't think it's going to be quite enough, but Tien, again, still very far ahead in this jungle matchup. And overall, tough start for NIP. I do have to say as well, as Tien, again, doesn't have 6 yet, but has Smite up. Has the Evolve Smite off the pet, by the way. So it is a 1k Smite versus a 600 Smite, and I think Guwon hit tab, saw that, and is just going to give up this camp too. So the onslaught continues for Tien.
I think, having seen the jungle matchup, it's called, right? Like, Guwon has absolutely been destroyed in the first couple of minutes of this game. His fault or not, who knows? But the first Paranoia, that is where we really make our money for top esports. And it picks up a kill immediately, dinging 6 and moving into the mid lane.
You know, Dia, coming into this match, we talked so much about how NIP, they've really drafted for movers in mid, and they've played strong mid-jungle duos. I mean, the most played mid-jungle duo of NIP has been Vi Ahri. They don't find the Ahri, they don't really find the best pairing with Vi, as I think props to top esports, who denied Ahri in the second round of the draft, and also blinded the Annie, knowing it's one of the better pairings with Vi. And with the start that Tien got, and the start that Cream got in his own lane, these two have been dunking the mid-jungle duo of NIP, and really have their team off to a hot start.
And it's worth remembering what we gave up Ahri for.
Milio, yes.
Yeah, the Milio, you know, yet to have a whole lot of value in this game, as we haven't really seen Awesome and Shwo get brought into anything yet, but it's helping take the first dragon, and if Milio makes the difference in this game, there are going to be a whole lot of happy campers, pun intended.
Well, of course, Paranoia dropped mid. Tien doesn't have that one up for the Dragon. Will lead to Dragon being given over. Meanwhile, Cream is flashless. Here comes the play.
Ooh, nice CC with the Super Mega Fire Kick as well. And Cream will go down, chaining those nicely. NIP, having picked up first Dragon, now have Grubs available.
This does look that mid-kill, or it does make that mid-kill look a little bit not worth it. When it is answered by a mid-killer in return, when Annie was down flash, and then turns into a Dragon, and some Grubs, Tien going to make sure it's hopefully not all 3, nice. Which I think that with him being 7, it's just going to be 2, and they're going to deny the 3rd and make sure that the little Grubsters, the Twitch chatters, don't spawn. So
he takes the Raptors.
Dude, Tien just loves chicken nuggets, man.
I'm tilted on behalf of Guwon. This would just be
this guy has 4 different apps registered with McDonald's and is just farming the 10-piece McNugget deal, you know? It's just rotating out accounts on repeat.
I'm just gonna, as this game progresses, keep our eyes on it. Does Guwon get a single Raptor camp, because thinking about mid turrets and the way that those are playing out, the lane's largely been dominated by Cream. I know we just saw the mid lane kill, but that tower looking like it's in more danger than any other. Rift Herald coming up in about 5 minutes should be where we see first tower fall at the very latest, and we got Dragon in another 3. So until then, it's time for Gubon to rest, recuperate, and hopefully pick up a Raptor camp.
Ooh, alt casted here by Leon, as does make sure that Sion loses the shield, so that's going to be it with Hoya. I think opportunity to try and get the flash out of Ambessa there on this item break point. There's no Eclipse in yet for Ambessa, which she really needs in this lane to kind of match the trading, but farm's been good, and that should be available in base once Leon gets out of there. That said, Tien going to keep on proving that, you know, if you do go vegan, that means you can have chicken nuggets. And does that mean you're actually living life to the fullest? Tien thinks no, as he takes his own. He paid for those, though. It's not the deal. The deal's on the other side of the map. You got to get in the car and travel for that one.
He keeps getting spotted on these boards. I mean, he is clearing them out, but I will say, NIP know where the paranoia can come from. I think the question is, now, Tien's got his first item. How much is knowing where he's coming from going to help you out?
Well, we'll see. I think that's a decent question, because flashes are available for NIP. It's based on what happened with the Dragon, the mid-kill they got for themselves, and the Grubs going in their favor. They did stabilize this game a bit, because if anyone's missing flash, that's when you know you have the Nocturne Annie coming down on top of you. As the Enchanted Crystal Arrow does connect onto Awesome, but Milio's going to do their best to make sure that Lucian can get back to full health, as Seraphine is doing some work here.
And for the moment, Zhuo's really been quite conservative with his Breath of Life. Guwan,
that's an early
he wants
smite.
the Raptors. He's
Not
paid for them. He will not pay more.
He got some. They split it. It wasn't exactly a friendly split. There was debate on who took the bill and who got which big McNugget, but that's fine.
It's looking more like a McDonald's every day. Just fights to the death over the chicken nuggets, and looking like a little bit more as Tien, with a nice use of the spell shield, does avoid death through the cease and desist, but won't get the red buff for it. Guwan securing that. So despite a difficult early game, NIP are clawing this back for their jungler.
That is an ult down, and I'm curious if Tien can punish, because now he's going to have the paranoia versus none. But with that CS lead, Guwan has at least caught up a little bit in the experience lead. That said, the punishment continues for Kara in the mid lane. Merc Treads do help a little bit against the Annie, but yeah, you can see that's a mobile campfire to try and help out the mid laner of NIP.
I still honestly would not be stepping up to Cream right now. With stun ready, the way he's been using the electrocute consistently, he's more than comfortable 1v2ing, and it's a lot of pressure to be putting out 30 seconds before a Dragon. You know that NIP grabbed the first one. Top Esports could very well aim for the second in just that short amount of time. Weyon up top lane going to use another ceremonial ult cooldown, but this time Awesome has shown up to punish. Flash forward from the AD carry, and Awesome will be picking up a kill on the top laner of Top Esports. No Dragon for NIP, but yeah, they got the kill.
Proactive lane swap, though. They get a kill onto Ambessa. Sueon has the TP available to try and get back to the lane, but they kind of recognize that they're losing across the map. Making a proactive swap, yes, it takes you away from the Dragon, but the bot and top lane role quests were already complete. So at least Awesome's going to try and use the two Grubs and the siege potential of the Lucian Milio uncontested on the top side to get a little something in favor of NIP. So, yeah, they drop the Dragon, but hey, it cuts into the gold deficit a little bit. And Sion's going to be a lot better trying to eat what he can in the 1v2 than Ambessa, who scales harder off resources and gold.
Care gets rotated up there now, too. The match is way on. For the moment, though, with the Dragon having fallen, there is some opportunity for NIP to make up some plays as they did up top lane. Not a whole lot else to play for, and with Awesome at least getting the kill, he's ahead of Jackie Love, technically, and only technically.
I mean, up a little bit of gold, and it shows in the inventory with the Zeal being completed as well. So, is down Flash, but we'll see if Awesome. I mean, the nice part about Lucian Milio and having these empowered Lucian ults with an Enchantress behind you is it can really help ensure that you have mid lane priority. So, oh, Kara should spot this. It went over a control ward, but no!
That guy is so dead on my screen. Care, 1 auto under the tower. Wait a second! He's out of there as a Paranoia comes in and puts him back in the dirt. He thought he was out. I thought he was out. Tian made sure he wasn't.
Gets a bonus ult out of it, so Tian does get the kill, but you can see that control ward in the top banana brush. The Enchanter Crystal Arrow went over that, and a big talking point that I've seen or had with teams is fire these arrows from fog, because if a team spots it, you got 5 people that play at this level locked in at what's going on the Rift, especially in the minimap, you might see that arrow and be like, hey, it's coming here, it's coming in this area, in this vicinity. And Kara, despite having the bunny hop, despite having the between worlds and having some prior info that the arrow could be coming, was not able to react to get out of that one. As Tien does get the Rift Herald, but isn't able to pick up the eye quite yet. TP coming in. Top Esports want to play.
They want to fight. Flash with the Encore secures 2. And though he will die for it, Peng Yue gave his life well, making that not just a Rift Herald, but another kill going over to Top Esports.
Oh, Feng Yue, you can have an Encore of that any day. That was disgusting. As the Encore into Flash found 2, it was after Zhuo popped his ult too, so they still got the cleanse. As, yeah, okay, let's get another look at this. Here's what the ward I was talking about. Again, this was spotted. The LPL observers know. They're shouting it out. Kara does not know. Wasn't able to react. Got stuck going back and forth. Zhueyan, good predict there on the bunny hop, by the way. Able to hit the public execution. Doesn't get the kill as Kara tries his best to navigate out of that one, but the Nocturne shuts it down. And now the flip. Watch Feng Yue with the ult into the Flash to answer. This is disgusting. You can see the cleanse already came out from the Milio. So that Encore finds the group. And yeah, I mean, it was a big ult and combo from Hoya, but it was really only there to trade 1 for 1. So I guess Feng Yue, you know, the fancy footwork was only for a 1 for 1. But hey, they did get the Rift Herald. And it still is a Top Esports that is up and feels more ahead than what shows on the scoreboard at the moment, Tio.
Feng Yue picking up 2 of the kills during the course of this game is going to be pretty darn enabled as well. Grabbed the Echoes of Halia pretty early on, and that can turn into quite a bit of impact, especially in the next couple of minutes as Dragon is about to spawn, and we haven't determined what our Rift will be. Infernal Drake's going to be spawning for the rest of this game, and something that Top Esports would certainly like to grab.
Some summoner spells were burned in that last setup. I again, want to see them try and split the CC. We talked about them splitting a lot of the hard crowd control they have between the Annie, the Ashe, and the Seraphine. We saw that time, because they did split it, Feng Yue's Encore hit after the ult from Milio was used. So I think that is what Top Esports wants to continue to try and do in the fights and the setups. I think on the other side, if I were to look anywhere early, as Top Esports, Kara is still flashless in that bot lane. You have Cream as the Annie. Wonderful setup for a Nocturne to try and get involved, but at the moment, Tian going to try and help the mid lane fight the Lucian Milio that does have such good ability to delete the wave. He's going to be there, be present, and help make sure his team can get the push.
Sort of a necessary presence for right now, but a play could happen at any moment, especially with Cream showing up.
I didn't like that.
Flash on his Annie, but it still is a zone of control. Teleport going to come in here. Hoya wants to fight for the tower, but Top Esports really want that last 100 HP on it. Hoya going to zone everybody away. This mid lane tower technically alive, and I really do mean technically, Cubby. It's like the gold lead that Awesome had earlier. We're not seeing it manifest in really anything else. But the top lane tower going over to Zhueyan. Going to be welcome to the Top Esports side as they trade that for a Dragon.
I really like where Top Esports is at and some of the decisions they're making. I thought that ult from Awesome was early. You can soak a lot of that with Seraphine, which Top Esports did and kind of capped up their health bars again. So I was like, all right, maybe Top Esports can fight. But Hoya TP's down. What do they trade it for? Yes, they give away a Dragon, but they take 2 towers, and Mbessa gets a lot of solo free time in the top side. And that champion, once you get to level 16, you get those bonus stats on your passive for your ultimate, which I may have beef with, but it exists in the game, and it's part of why Mbessa is such a menace later on. So Zweon kind of caught back up now to Hoya on that top side. And again, once it gets to level 16, I feel like that's a really big breaking point for Top Esports is the Mbessa. If Mbessa gets backline access, that's when he starts shredding people back there.
At this point, just extraordinarily comfortable in the matchup as well. Hoya realistically not going to die, but you raised the question earlier. What is this Scion realistically going to do later in the fight, especially with the amount of backline access that Top Esports have? I praised Hoya's frontlining earlier, but I'm nervous for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's one where, again, it feels like a lot of the momentum that we saw out of NIP coming out of that BLG win. We liked some of the draft angles we had. We weren't as sure about the vibe pairing this time around, and just the start to the game that Top Esports had was massive, but this could be a good angle. It's Cream. TP coming in, Nocturne all cast.
Got Paranoia on the way, but it connects in the Tri-Brush instead.
Encore miss.
Cream will fall. We got a public execution directly on top of Awesome by Zweon, and it will take the AD carry's life for the side of NIP. Top Esports cleaning up a few more kills. Will grab Care on top of this. They trade their mid laner for the mid and AD carry of the Ninjas in Pajamas, and Top Esports have traded up in a big way. Looking for Zwo right now. No slow will connect. Will Zweon be able to catch up to him? He will not.
Good quicks. Good quicks. Shwo gets out of there. Better quicks, though, from Zweon. As, oh boy, I mean, that fight was over once the public execution hit onto the Lucian. Awesome. He had the lead. He has the damage for this team. Zweon hits the perfect target with the public execution. Didn't even really have help for that one, by the way. The Encore missed. I didn't see the Enchanted Crystal Arrow in that fight. And now he might pick up Guwon, who... That's pretty expensive to get a blue buff.
Wait,
we have a
teleport
TP
behind
coming
this
in
play,
from
though.
both
Top
teams.
Esports
Hoya
may have overstayed their welcome. Cares in here to take out Tian, and he will. Now, will Zweon get lucky with the escape? It looks like no, although he will dodge the knockup. Has backup on the way as Jackie Love shows up to the fight once again. Zweon will go down. It's Feng Yue and Jackie Love against the world of Top Esports. Bitten off a little bit more than they can chew. Eyes too big for their stomach, and IP will strike back.
Oh, I guess that blue buff didn't matter. It was the other TP coming in from Care that sets up the play with Hoya. And with ultimates down, a lot of those big tools unavailable for Top Esports. That's a beautiful fight coming out from NIP. I kind of thought Guwon was messing around trying to get the blue buff. And yeah, he does burn his flash, but you know what? He baits a lot of time in. Hoya, that is a great ult just to get in position to try and make this play. And frankly, I think Zweon should have probably just hit the B button. He gets stuck in the middle, tries to help. Tien ends up getting burned down, and now the fights continue. Cream, he has flash up. Does Cream go?
In with the Paranoia goes Tien, but does not secure the smite. This Baron for NIP is big, and the Encore connects onto 3, but Feng Yue will still fall. It's a difficult to set up contest for Top Esports, and it's going to cost them big with the mid lane tower still up for now.
I just watched Brother Cream take a walk around the park as public execution misses in the public square. Oh yeah, this is a little bit deep though.
Just a bit. Gonna go down here as from the side in comes Guwon. Cares in a lot of damage with the Between Worlds. And Zweon trying to get away from Hoya's ghost underneath the tower will survive. The mid lane tower goes to NIP.
And the fight goes to NIP too. They cleaned him up. Hoya was a bit deep and goes in, but what a weird sequence from Top Esports. NIP turned that initial winning fight for Top into a bot play where Top overextended. They found kills. They got the Baron. I just watched Cream do a walk around the park here, around the Baron, as he's still taking a lap around that Baron pit. And then Hoya was trying to attack Jackie Love. Jackie Love is flashless. A lot of tools to attack a flashless Jackie Love. Zweon tries to find Awesome on the follow-up for Hoya, cuts him off with the public execution. Even if it misses, it did force the dash out. But still, this is a numbers fight for NIP, and the Milio is really working overtime to try and make sure that the carries are staying topped off and alive. And NIP turned this sequence deal into so much. They got a Baron. They got another Dragon now. His soul point is being secured by Awesome and NIP. And they have control of this game over top esports for what really felt like an overextension, overstay in the bot lane for top, which started off a good play from them. So the fact that NIP is punishing, this is what they did against BLG in game 1 last night.
Exactly what I was thinking. This has hurt other teams in the past. As you say, BLG falling to this exact same threat from NIP. And Enchanted Crystalero goes wide, but the public execution does not! Tibbers right on top of Awesome, takes him out, and the Ninjas in Pajamas lose control of this game as quickly as they got it.
All right, well, I think NIP is still in a better spot than when this all started. But if the public execution from Zoyan connects against the Lucian, which has happened twice now, those have been two pretty winning fights for top esports, as it looks like Hoya might get melted here.
Exactly. That's exactly what's going to happen. It's a slow melt. It's like a... I'm trying to think of the brand of scented candle. I can't.
Oh,
if Hoya was a scented candle, what scent would he be?
I feel like that melt was about as slow as the melt in the original Wizard of Oz, is what I was thinking. That took a while. As the Enchanted Crystal Arrow might have been dodged, but Awesome. He dashes into the public execution. Kind of hard to see that. I will give him a little bit of kudos with the paranoia being down as well. I don't want to say that's a guess, but man, heat-seeking missile on the ultimate there from Zoyan finds Awesome. And Awesome taking a few blips in terms of building damage here, because he went for the Serpent's Fang. Going up against the Seraphine Ambessa shields, the Annie shields coming in. So going to hurt the DPS of the Lucian, but going to make sure the shielding not quite as big for top esports.
Yeah, definitely fulfilling a specific role with that pickup and delaying perhaps his hyper carry potential for a little bit more team utility. Awesome's life really is just going to be living right on the line of, did Ambessa hit R on you? And credit to him, Zoyan has done that more often than not in these fights. It is a tenuous relationship between the two, but everybody remember that now with Awesome's flash up, NIP do have a significantly better chance, even if they now have no Baron. They've still got Soul Point, and in 2 minutes, that's going to matter a whole lot.
I don't think NIP wants to create any more volatility on the map that isn't, guaranteed. Get flashes out, get something. We'll say at the moment when this dragon spawns, I think Zoyan's flash will be up in time, but that might be close. I don't think that either team is going to want to rip Baron or try it with only a 40-second gap between that and the dragon, because an Infernal Soul for NIP would be a big boon for them throughout this game. Looking at the inventories real quick. Oh, hold on, Guwon. That's Tibbers. Goodbye.
Does get deleted into the GA. Awesome actually front lines on Lucian. Does eat the breath of life to survive, but Guwon will go down, and Zoyan connects with yet another public execution on Awesome. He's all over the back line, and Awesome is down. He is a heat-seeking missile, I believe, is what you used.
Yeah, and I thought the Between Worlds from Care was the heat that was needed to take down top esports. The entry into the fight from Care was massive. It looked like a 4-person Aurora combo, but Seraphine enough juice in the tank to keep everyone alive. And again, Zoyan has to be the MVP of this game with these public executions, because the 3 out of the 4 fights we've seen it cast, it's connected onto the Lucian, and it's been massive for top esports.
And a quick check-in on the summoners as well, because it's going to matter. There's no flash, there's no barrier on Awesome anymore.
They're going to do Baron.
Zoyan did not even use his. Still
they're going to do Baron
available for the next fight, and they're attempting that fight.
They could get Hoya's TP. I mean, NIP is snuffing this out. Guwon?
They just delete Guwon's health bar again. Flash over the wall from Tien. He really wants this, but won't actually be able to collect it. The Baron, however, is a different matter, as top esports
can they cut him off?
Certainly can take that.
Can NIP cut them off? I think Guwon basing here is almost a little bit questionable. I mean, if you go right to the dragon, you at least force TPs out from top esports, but we're going to get another look at that play. I would have loved to see the setup of the dragon, quite frankly. giving that his soul, but everything comes down onto Guwon, while Top Esports on top of the control ward. Then Awesome, the dash, the flash. He gets out of there. Again, Kair's damage was massive. He hit so many people with the Between Worlds and the combo. But Zuwan finds Awesome over the wall in the back half. Again, we have to get straight back to the Dragon. It's here on even footing. I think that's not great for an IP. Tibbers is not available, though. And Guwon's going.
To a smite. Guwon commits into the back line. Encore, however, does hit Zhuo, and Awesome has a Zhuoyan all over him. A flurry of blades. Zhuoyan flashes forward, securing the kill. And Top Esports will win yet another fight, deny the soul, and take an Infernal Dragon for themselves.
How do you find a Lucian in the back half of every single one of these fights? Zhuoyan, holy smokes, what a game from him. That's got to be a pog for the top laner, the young top laner of Top Esports, as he was the difference maker, the game changer for Top Esports. That's going to get them this game one.
They know it as well as you do. The timers are long enough. As they walk down with this inhibitor, I am thinking the same thing. Zhuoyan in this game has made such a massive difference. There's nothing that an IP can do but watch from the gray screen. As Awesome for him, at least at the end of the game, not much changes. That guy was not having a good time.
I just cannot believe you drafted, I mean, it's a first pick Lucian. It's Lucian Milio. How do we hit this many Ambessa ults in the backline? Zhuoyan, we're just built different out there, man. Every single fight, when you look at the replays, it's public execution just being sent towards the Lucian. Awesome caught one. He couldn't dodge the rest. I think the only one he dodged was still one that almost zoned him away from Hoya, who ended up going down in the fight. And again, as Lucian, I mean, you have flicker blades. You have these dashes. It's your job to be mobile. Milio gives you some bonus move speed, too. That didn't matter for Zhuoyan. He was hunting the Lucian, kept on taking Awesome down, and the big damage dealer, the player leading damage per minute in the LPL, was not allowed to play that game, and it was because of Zhuoyan.
This is exactly like those games of hockey. Like, I don't know enough about hockey to talk about this, but
I haven't watched this playoff hockey,
where you have goons that will just go and find a player who's giving you trouble and physically assault them. That was what was happening here.
That is what we call the enforcer, all right? If you played the old NHL 2K games, you could have an enforcer. You had a red bar, where if you hit people with the red bar, you hit them harder. That was the Chris Pronger special, baby. That's what he did. This guy was like 6'10" on skates. Would just go find your best player and just kind of give him a rough time for the whole game. But yeah, oh my goodness. I mean,
found
just
his
what
equivalent
Zhuoyan,
in the LPL.
Yeah, no, for real. I mean, what Zhuoyan was able to do on that Ambessa, usually you think that, you know, the Scion's the bodyguard or the enforcer. But those public executions, you can cheat your way into the back line. And boy, did Zhuoyan do that with flair in that game to make sure a competitive game one that we have to give kudos to NIP for playing their way back into, does go back in the hands of Top Esports.
And this did actually answer one of the questions that we had as well, which was how much was the Scion going to matter? How much was this Hoya safe top pick really going to impact the game? Not much. There was so much access to everyone on the side of Top Esports, from Nocturne ults to, of course, Annie and the ability to perma-start engages. You have Seraphine, Ashe, and then you've got the Ambessa, who we are pretty sure is the MVP of this game.
It better be.
Scion didn't do much. Scion couldn't do much.
Look, Dia, if Ambessa's not the MVP, we might have to become the enforcers here.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a ridiculous game. Thinking of other highlights for Top Esports, I mean, Tian's early game was fantastic. I don't feel like that got converted on to a huge degree, but around the first couple of objectives, it was certainly felt.
You know what, Dio? We never got a chance to fly something that we might look to fly in game 2. Honorable mention to Cream. I don't think we talked about Cream a ton in that game. Really felt like Cream was doing his job. He had a big lane lead early on against the Aurora. I felt like the setups that he had on the Annie, yeah, he got picked off bot lane once, but his team, it ended up being a winning scenario for his team. And some of the engages he had after the ring around the Rosie, around the Baron Pit, which left me scratching my head a little bit when NIP picked that one up. That last Dragon engage, some of the follow-ups he had with Tian, it was a good anti-game for Cream, a champion that I saw him have some issues with in the playoffs at times in the LPL last year. So always nice when Cream can pick up the ante and play well, because I haven't always seen that, but this has been a really good split for Cream. I think he's been a big part of the success story so far for Top Esports.
He and Feng Yue in this game certainly bringing a lot of, as you say, like doing their job into these fights, CCing the right people, doing the right things, being in the right place at the right time, and backing up the win conditions of this game. Something else that was done very well by some of the Ash Arrows, again, especially in the early game. I think later on, this was part of what ultimately made the Ambessa so successful as well, is there are so many skill shots that Top Esports can throw out that you must dodge, that you can't dodge all of them, and Zweon's just had to be last.
Good Scion mechanics there from Hoya with the E-Flash. We like that. As I mean, this is really the one moment that Zweon probably wants back. Outside of this, I mean, this guy played a fantastic Ambessa game. As it was an overstay from Top Esports as a team. I do think that Zweon needed to cut his losses there and leave TN. This did lead to a really positive set of plays for NIP that did get them back in the game, as they were wearing purple after this one. Again, I think that pressuring Jackulov when he's down flash like this is nice. But from here on out, Dia, every fight, if you're at home, you got to keep your eyes on Zweon, because the ability for Ambessa to hunt the Lucian was ridiculous in this one.
Can I just say thank God for Fearless Draft? Not going to be seeing that again. Awesome. Certainly thanking his lucky stars as well into it. It must have been a paranoia thing, right?
I think, like, I don't know if it was paranoia or not. I'm going to assume yes. I think that one's tough to see. This, for me, is the crazy one, because he kind of gets over the wall, and I don't know if this was a guess or not. I do think that he had some help, but I thought this fight could have went the way of NIP just because of what Care did. And yeah, I don't know how much vision he had over that, but he found Awesome in the backline and just deletes the Lucian there. And then the Dragon fight, again, I mean, he had me kind of freaking out when he found him in the Dragon Pit, because these are game-winning plays. Every fight that we saw where the public execution connected with the Lucian was a winner, and we saw that 4 times in the game, as this is the final one. And again, keep your eyes on Zweon. Finds Awesome in the backline, and at this point, I mean, Milio's got more levels, the Lucian's kind of fed, all the tools are burnt here, but it still isn't enough. Zweon picks him up. Cream has a great re-engage here to make sure that any chance of a fight win for NIP goes down. Top Esports cleans up, bails on the Dragon, takes the Nexus. Was a competitive game. I mean, frankly, we kind of looked at the early game, Dia, as it being extraordinarily Top Esports sided. I think the fact that NIP played their way back into that one, they do deserve kudos for that. But once they got the flashes back up for Ashe Seraphine, and with Zweon's ability to hunt, I do think that it's really tough to outscale these Ashe Seraphine games, because they just empower your top side so much, especially later on when the surround sound gets big, Ashe gets more slows, or this bigger slows on top of everything. That is a world where Nocturne and Ambessa are going to thrive. And with Cream pulling the trigger well in that game, was a very good setup for Top Esports, as they had a blip, some good plays from NIP made it close, but Top Esports close out and get the win off the back of a pog from Zweon.
Nice, nice. Nice timing on that. We knew what was going on here. No beating
we don't have to
around
be
the
in forces,
bush.
Gia. I don't know if people at home can tell. I am going to speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for you. I'm not exactly built for a fight.
I was thinking exactly the same thing about me.
I like to fight with words more than might. If not, I signed up for a pretty losing battle. As 165 is a little bit too big. I got to slim down from that even a little bit. So, you know. Oof.
Listen, but we know our job, right? Even if not built for it, one must defend Zweon had he not gotten that. Unfortunately, the LPL broadcast agrees. They end up giving this over to Zweon for an MVP in Game 1, and a very deserved one. As we mentioned, however, Fearless Draft is going to throw a little bit of a wrench in things, as he's not going to have access to the Ambessa for Game 2, and NIP did have a comeback in the middle of that game. As you said, very, very close. So this series shaping up to be a close one as well, as we will have Game 2 for you right after a quick break. back to the LPL English broadcast. We missed you over the break, and I hope you missed us too. In fact, given the fact that we've seen you now for the second game that is coming up, and we've got a couple more matches after this series today, it's worth noting that we're doing all of this over here at the LPL English broadcast for the love of the game, and we can tell you love these games too. If you want to love these games together, there is no better way to support the LPL English broadcast than joining us on our coffee, as it is the best way to support the LPL English broadcast and its production, as a lot of the initial payments go into upgrading exactly the kinds of things you're seeing on your screens right now, the amazing graphics that we've got, and the ability, of course, to stream them directly to your home or work, depending on where you're watching this from. And of course, a lot of it comes to paying on-air talent and production staff like us as well. So if you love the LPL English, if you're going to be loving all of the games, potentially 9 games that you are seeing today, be sure to check out our coffee link.
Dia, you know what my coffee is brought to you by right here?
What is that? What is the
Chicago Cubs 10-game winning streak.
Nice. Congratulations.
Had to squeeze that one in there, So really nice when your team is the Cubs and not the Mets. But focusing on the two teams we have in front of us now. Top Esports, you were talking about it in the break. Another win here. They're 5-1 currently in set score. And a real chance with the win to make sure that they solidify their first round robin at the top of the standings. They're only going to have one series left after this. No more series left after this. And a win makes sure they end the first round robin on top, which would be pretty crazy. Given all the swaps and changes they made coming into the split.
And on the other side of this, for the Ninjas in Pajamas, coming out of their Big 3 matchup, having taken out 2 of the top 3 teams, is only 2 games away. They almost had game 1. To come back here would be huge, especially for the expectations of this roster, who just made it into Group Ascend this split. As the draft begins, however, again, we are going to see Hoya's Varus taken away, and the Orianna that slipped my mind in game 1 joining us again in game 2.
Poke being removed from the bot lane is no Ezreal, no Varus. We'll say Karma did get nerfed on this patch, but I've still seen Karma priority be very high. NIP going to drop that, though, for the Jarvan. Jarvan has been, I believe, coming into the day, TN's most played champion. So Jarvan will be in the hands of Guwan, but I will say first pick Jarvan. Jarvan's a really strong jungler right now, but it does give the opponent 5 picks to try and get out of Cataclysm. So Yunara, with the Transcendent State, can sneak out over the Cataclysm walls. Lulu might get locked in, but it does give you that power to at least try and game plan around the Cataclysm, as of course, Cataclysm for Flash, pretty classic trade that you can really use and abuse if you are NIP. And Corki Nami, another one of those really strong bot lane duos we have right now, will be locked in for Awesome, as I believe this is a 6th unique champion for Awesome. So we have not seen the Corki Nami played yet by the bot lane of NIP, as Awesome's champ pool have been a bit narrow, but we'll be locked in for this game.
Excited to see how that works out, because generally, Corki Nami, not my favorite side of the matchup into the Yunara Lulu. Tend to have a better time of things, especially with Top Esports being up a game. I am personally much more in the camp of Top Esports getting the better end of this draft so far, but we've got 2 more bans and 2 more picks to change that around. A lot of it going to come down to what happens in the solo lanes for Cream and for Zwayon.
Cassio being banned tells me that they might be asking for a Rise ban out of NIP here, Dia, as I do think that Xin Zhao can really abuse the fact that Lulu is the Enchantress behind. And that Crescent Guard, really nice, because, of course, Jarvan, Nami, they want to put you in the Cataclysm, follow up with a Tidal Wave, and use that to kind of create a wombo and a winning team fight. Crescent Guard, really valuable for TN in those scenarios to try and take some of that damage away, or at least force you to fight on Xin Zhao's terms inside the circle.
Probably knocked up as well with Feng Yue's wild growth on top of him. It's just, it's kind of a nightmare scenario, and you did mention a lot of poke being taken away. I will say Ninjas in Pajamas, at least with the Corki, do still have the ability to lay some out, and would be nice to see maybe a little bit more of that to disincentivize fights from top esports if they're able to set up ahead of time. Do see a Renekton taken away from Hoya, and the Gnar ban was already thrown out there by the Ninjas in Pajamas, so top lane becoming a real focus now as we enter the second part of the draft.
They're really going to give the Rise over to Cream? I feel like, again, with the Cassio ban, you're really setting up for a Rise pick, which is going to get locked in. I love the fact that Rune Prison exists for Yunara now, and you pair really well with Xin Zhao as kind of an impressive mid-jungle duo. I mean, if we want to get weird and play this, I'm down. I'm the first person that's down. Oh my god, it's locked in. We're playing Malzahar. Holy smokes. Well, this is a different counter matchup to Rise. The silence is really strong. AoE silence, really OP ability to have in the game. But this takes time to scale up. I think this really warps the game, and I don't love this pick into Yunara later on, as Yunara can really try and control the Malzahar, because the W outranges you, you can get the shield, you can kind of use the hop to play around. But this is going to be in a Nivea top, I believe, for Hoya. So we've seen this quite a bit in the LC. Okay, now we just have Chaos.
Okay, this draft was so absurdly normal. You wouldn't even have seen me blink during the first 6, 7 picks of this draft. We get to the last 3, and I feel like I'm like 18 patches in the future and have no idea what's going on.
We have Lee Sin into a Nivea and a Nivea Malzahar solo laners. I am as perplexed as you are, Dia. As we try and piece this together, of course, the suppress from Care is really strong. It's a long cooldown. It's one that Guwan's going to want to try and play off of. But I'm really interested to see what Zweon can do on this Lee Sin. Because going into a Nivea, I assume that being mobile is nice to get around some of the walls, get around the stun for Nivea. And the kick is a cancel. If you get on top of the Nivea early, maybe you can pressure. But I got Lee Sin into Nivea is not a matchup that I've seen or I'm used to. So I apologize if I'm not fully prepped for this one. I might have to look up some solo queue stats and see what people have been playing into Zeus as a Nivea over on the Korean ladder. Because Zeus is really the one responsible for a lot of this Nivea top we're seeing.
Zweon is so locked in on this matchup, though. I mean, he didn't even... I don't even think he blinked locking this in, to be honest. He just... It was less than the clock running out needed to be. They could have debated this. They could have gone back and forth. And there was, from the side of Top Esports, complete faith in their Game 1 MVP to pull out the Lee Sin and maybe the win.
You know, I feel as blind as Lee Sin is going into this draft, Dia, the more I thought about it.
I am... Oh, early. The early summoner trade actually going in the favor of Top Esports. The trade expected. The numbers, once again, favoring Top, though, much like they did in Game 1. Didn't go super well for Ninjas in Pajamas. Remember, they had to get creative around some of those top rotates. Mid lane, another place that we've got to keep our eyes, as Cream and Care already rocking down with the trades. But Cream, a player that you were pretty excited about today, Cubby.
Yeah, I think that Cream has been a really big piece of Top Esports in Split 2. One of the big talking points I had for Top Esports in Split 1 was that Cream was going from a younger player on the roster to one of the more experienced players in the roster. I didn't really feel like Cream was stepping up to the amount necessary for that. I don't feel that way this split. I think Cream has really elevated his play playing with Tien. It does help that his jungler is taking things a little bit more seriously, to say the least, what happened with last split. But I think that it has been really, really good for Cream to have that scenario. And to see him really elevate and I feel like be more of a consistent performer and asset to the team instead of, at times, a question mark that can vary on the champion that he plays. I've rated Cream a lot higher this year.
He's been looking quite good, and this time...
Goodbye, Care.
It's going to turn that into a kill early on. Tien comes in for the gank, and that Cream meter keeps climbing higher and higher, especially with the first blood. going over in that matchup, and maybe second
Conquer
up in
abuse.
this one.
Here we go.
Zwayon ready to take out Hoya. Watch for the Sonic Wave as he doesn't even need it to pop him into egg. Zwayon scrambling Anivia in the top lane, and Hoya will go down. Kills 1 and 2 to top esports. It looks like games 1 and 2. Should they continue this pace? We'll go there.
So, idea for this was to get Anivia in the long lane against Lee Sin, which Zwayon was able to chase down, and that fantastic game 1 Pog. We're off to another hot start in this game, too, as he's going to get a positive trade on the Hoya yet again. I think that, the ability to bounce between some of these skill shots, definitely why we're seeing this counter matchup, and this is going to be a dive from TN. I love this. This wave is massive. If Hoya goes down here, his game is going to be so hard for the rest of it.
There is no egg up here. Remember, Hoya just died, and they get the wall out of him first.
Double stun.
Stun on Tien, though. Does actually get out of tower range. Zwayon is going to go back in to try and finish the kill, but it's a plus 300 to Hoya, who survives. Tien really wants to finish this.
The Q came out from Hoya. It almost got him. Hoya's trying to find Tien on the way out. The fact that he survived this wave is massive. That said, Lee Sin going to be here in 5 seconds. He cannot finish this base. I think he still might go down to the Lee Sin if he gets a ward or control ward. Oh, yeah. Okay, there's the ward jump. Doesn't have the flash, though. There's the stun. Gonna use the minions to block. And Zwayon, he's going to be forced to catch the wave. So Hoya's wave is terrible, but at least Hoya survives.
I mean, outplaying in the 1v2 and getting away with that, you are pretty darn happy as Hoya. Awesome, maybe less so, as a flash on top of him would finish him off, and Jackie Love and Feng Yue find the 2v2 kill. Now every lane has something working in the favor of top.
Fireworks early, all in favor of top esports as Zhuo. That's a big flash out. Guwan's here.
He lives, and he turns it around. Zhuo might go.
Okay.
I was
well
not familiar
played,
with your
Zhuo.
game.
That's much needed. I mean, it fixes the wave for Awesome as they do match the kill. Still going to be Jackie Love ahead, but not as bad as what it should have been. As we're going to get a second look at this one. It's Feng Yue. Nice Glitter Lance off of the Nami. Yes, the bubble hits, but the slow from Yunara. And watch Jackie Love stack back up this passive. Equal tempo is going. Auto Q gets the auto reset, so the flash means that he still catches it. Usually, if the auto reset doesn't come in, that flash from Awesome would have been a spot on and would have gotten him out. But because the auto reset off the Q Yunara was there, it's tough. And now, going back to top lane, we talked about Lee Sin catching Anivia in the long lane. If you are able to keep the fight up, keep the Conqueror going, puts Hoya in a really tough spot, and Hoya going to do his best to stall out that wave and make sure it comes back to him. But Zwayon, I think, doesn't really want to do that. We're going to try not to do that until he gets the help for maybe another dive, as Hoya is still down egg, down flash, and that puts a giant red blinking target on the top laner of NIP. But I think currently Tien going to focus on his camps and maybe try and rotate down for that dragon, as mid and bot are also ahead. And Louis Dragon for top esports can get them rolling for the objectives.
First one, Infernal feels pretty good as well. Awesome going to take the beneficial trade where he can. Unfortunately for top esports, that coming around this dragon. Bit of an awkward spot. And we should note, level 6s are starting to be hit, and especially for Care. That means he can realistically play League of Legends.
Yeah, Tien's been a little bit more active on the map. That top dive really slowed him down, so Guwan does get that bot crab and is ahead. Does have 6 for this fight. I think Tien wanted to get in skirmish, going to be a little bit pulled. This top esports going to focus on the waves, and NIP does secure that first Drake in their favor. Off the back of Guwan having a bit of a lead in the jungle this time is, again, that time spent top for Tien. I think the fact that the Anivia kill failed to go over made things a little bit expensive here for top esports. So I know it doesn't show, at least in the top lane matchup, but Guwan having that big XP lead, I think did help secure that dragon.
Could have been a whole lot worse for NIP if Hoya hadn't managed to stabilize in the 1v2, which we really cannot underrate here. Still waiting for the first Nether Grasp from Care, as he's really been unable to roam so far. Cream's done a great job of keeping this wave shoved in and minimizing Malzahar's impact on the map, but Care's going to have one.
So this matchup early on, it is Rise favored. You're taking the Malzahar because you scale, and your AoE silence ability, the ability that has the impact champions, like Rise and dare I say Lee Sin, or even Yunara and Lulu in the backline. I think that everyone, when they think about Malzahar, they think about the E, the dot, the ability to farm, and also, of course, that ultimate. His Q, for me, is what really makes him a unique champion. That AoE silence, having that in the backline, you pair up stuff like Rylai's, Leandri's with it later on, he can become really oppressive for certain champions, which I think, to be fair, do exist in this game. Like, Zweon has to be really careful about when and where he goes in, because think about Lee Sin, if you want to go for that, big ward dash, Sonic Wave, Dragon Rage combo, an ult from Kara can stop you in your tracks and turn a fight around if you don't have access to that QSS. So I really think that Zweon's a champion that definitely has to pay that tax later on.
A change from game 1 where Ninjas and Pajamas were able to pick up 2 of 3 grubs. In this case, Top Esports are going to be able to pick up 3 of 3. Actually really making their mid-game, especially right after Rift Herald on the 16-minute mark, especially impactful when it comes to accumulating gold very quickly. We do have a gank being set up bot lane, though, as Guwon ready with the Cataclysm.
Top Esports really trying to get this wave in. The NIP's going to pick a... Oh, here we go.
Cataclysm on 2, and Jackie Love gets out. This was as drafted, as intended.
Yeah, so Fungiway has to burn the flash, but of course we saw Jackie Love burn the ult topped out, so... NIP, we'll see if they want to revisit that one. Again, do want to kind of set up the rest of the map, at least, because Top Esports... I think the goal for NIP is to really control the Top Esports comp later on. You have a Nivea Malzahar. If at any point Top Esports overcommits, or they can make sure the Xin Zhao gets stuck between Anivia and Malzahar, that's going to be a scenario where NIP is really happy. I like how you painted the Grubs, though, Dia, because I think you're right in the sense that Grubs Rise's ability to get access to the side lane later on, in a way, it kind of is a double counter to Rise, but if you're able to keep the game fast and attack, numbers advantages into Malzahar, into Anivia, are scenarios where Rise can use that in Power Rune Prison, set up stuff like the Zen, or even the Lee Sin if they want to really overload, and try and have a positive play. But at the moment, Zweon trying to hold this wave in front of his tower, and Hoya has enough gas in the tank to make sure it gets in. But that was TP used by Hoya, and a lot of tools, so Zweon's going to have a later TP, and should have a better base as he gets back into the lane against Hoya.
I'll see if he's able to complete first item, as we are hovering around that timing, especially if Zweon wants to get a little bit greedy here, which he can afford to do on the Lee Sin with how mobile he is. Rod of Ages becoming a possibility for Hoya in the next few minutes, and a quick barrier burn from Jackie Love to get him and his Kraken Slayer back into the lane all the faster.
I think that is somewhat worth the base, because the game plan now for Jackie Love is going to be get bot lane priority to try and make sure the second dragon does go Top Esports' way. 50 seconds away. I think that on paper, Top Esports has a better comp straight up at this point of the game. Malzahar doesn't have a first item yet. Rise is way more useful in this scenario. Xin Zhao as well with the Sundered Sky can be a beast with Lulu. Kraken Slayer competed for Jackie Love. We'll see if Awesome's able to get back and get the Trinity Force, but frankly, he didn't base after he got that last wave in. I'm going to assume he didn't have access to it yet. So I think items on paper and champions on paper, this second dragon should be going the way of Top Esports.
I'm curious to see what the setup looks like from NIP's side as well. Last time that they recognized that a dragon was not theirs, it's a quick rotation up top lane from Awesome to pick up a kill, to plant a nasty little trap for Zweon, and they could very well do the same thing once again, but they'll have to be pretty fast, and right now they are focused on making a play bot lane as Guwon has shown up once again. Remember, Fungiway flashless and healless. Tien, however, much more confident with the Crescent Guard that you mentioned was going to be powerful, and by God it was. Care shows up here, but no Nether Grasp is going to be used as the fight is so lost.
You know, I don't know if we're going to get a replay of that. Actually, Hoya's come down. Might try and catch Cream. Cream aware of it, though, throwing out the Q. Might lose his flash.
Still gets flash Nether Grasp. He's so dead. Surely he's so dead.
Yeah, the poor flash there from Cream. You called it, Dia. Was dead. Not able to flash out. And the fact that Hoya comes down, too, that guarantees the second dragon going over to NIP. But at what cost? You shouted out the 3 grubs picked up by Top Esports. Zweon's making those grubs, putting them to full complete use up there on the top side as 4 points have gone over to this Lee Sin. And this Dragon is yet to be started by NIP. I do want to shout out TN on that last skirmish, Dia. That Crescent Guard that we highlighted, it felt like he used it so late that it almost baited in extra damage that NIP threw in. And I think that was just even more tools used, even more things in favor of top esports, as they do win out on the fight, they lose out on the Dragon, but top lane is a bit on fire in the camp of NIP, as Weon is out in a lot of free time up there to get this turret, and we saw what he did with similar free time he got when a Dragon was traded later in the game, last game, from NIP to top esports. And for those that missed it, go back and watch, because those public executions were heat-seeking missiles against that Lucian.
And he can do a very similar thing on Lee Sin if he plays his cards right. Jackie Love playing his against Hoya right now does get stunned and slowed up. I think Hoya, once again, is going to get out of a 1v2.
I think Polymorph missed. I don't know if he dropped it on Jackie Love on accident or if he wasn't in range for the Anivia, but for me, that was the idea of the flash behind, or the idea for Fungyue's flash was to polymorph the Anivia and make sure that Yunara could keep on going, but not enough. So tools burned. 2 flashes burned by the bot lane of top esports. Guwon, that's got to be calling your name down there. You've got Cataclysm available. Currently on the top side is MI looking to rise, but I would love to see them try and find this Yunara Lulu and make a Cataclysm play around this Rift Herald that I think just got a lot harder for top esports to try and play out.
The way that top have allocated their lanes so far doesn't actually cover for Cream, who's currently getting dove. Nethergrasp says he can play League another day, but not today.
No QSS available yet for Cream, as the double counter against the Rise, by the way. You know, I will say, Dia, we were really questioning in draft, or at least I was, why Rise wasn't banned after the Cassio ban. They had 2 answers. It was Anivia top and Melzahar mid. As, okay, this Melzahar might be leaving our Jarvan to the Wolves. Can Guwon get out? He's got no tower behind him. I think TN's going to find the chase.
This is the real long lane. Guwon flash, though, does mean that he survives. You give up your summoner for faster reset and no chance of losing the fight.
That's Rift Herald. Rift Herald's about to spawn. I think TN might hop straight on here. So.
And he does.
It is immediate gold. They do set Cream a little bit further behind, but... Oh, Zubon. He doesn't know.
No Nether Grasp for Care, but Zweon does connect once again, gets slowed up, but the silence, like you say, does not connect. Plenty of damage, but it's not going to be enough to take him out. The rest of Ninjas in Pajamas, though, would be. So Zweon and top esports will have to give up this tower. Even so, Zweon still under threat as he will back away. You see some pings in the mid lane going down. Top want to answer with a dive onto Awesome. As bot lane tower goes down, a teleport into the mid lane from Hoya will save his AD carry. Will it save the tower? As this Rift Herald is piloted up towards top lane. Top esports, we are pivoting. We are dancing.
Jackie Love might also be dancing. He's got ult available, but Guwon, yep. Couple tools burned. We didn't see the Rift Herald get it over to top turret. And what's been a little bit of an interesting mid-game sequence, I want to give NIP some kudos. The seesaw on the map, I've talked about this a lot today when I covered NACL. Shout out to that league. But what it means is, like, there's a pendulum on the map if you look at top and bot, where you can see at the moment Zweon is pushing the minions in, and it's kind of even with where Anidia is at. So if you push those into the turrets and crash, you get this seesaw that kind of goes back and forth throughout the map. So I like what NIP did. They overloaded top. They took that turret. They reset. They went for the bot overload and got pressure there and took that turret as well. Got some positive plays. I think the response to that by TN, getting the Herald and trying to get mid was good. But at the end of the day, NIP come out on top of the play. And I do think we're going to see more scenarios and sequences where Anivia and Melzahar are going to try and play together and play off of each other. Because, man, if Anivia walls you off or sets up a pick at all and Care is there to capitalize as the Melzahar, that is a pretty oppressive duo. I mean, people have a hard enough time playing into Anivia or Melzahar. And NIP is looking at top esports and saying, I dare you to play against both.
No, I mean, Who is buying QSS this game? Jackie Love is buying QSS.
Lee Sin, please. I need it on Lee Sin. We need to be able to play the game.
Yeah. It's just like, the more people buy it, the more trouble you're in, and less people have it, especially 17 minutes into the game. Well, the fights go like that. Ninjas in Pajamas pick off one of the most important members of Top Esports, and with the Dragon up in 9 seconds, they get that and Cream Splash as a bonus.
I mean, this is getting really oppressive for Top. We haven't seen Cream be able to find angles on Realm Warps. We did see Jackulov just get deleted. And as long as we don't have QSSs coming in, which are necessary against Malzahar, by the way, we're still going to be vulnerable to these flash plays by Kara, who is sitting at 3-1, and an accelerated Malzahar is very scary, guys. This champion scales so extraordinarily hard if you get items. And again, that AoE silence that you have, the low cooldown it's on, and the ability that you have to impact the map with that, something that we could see Top Esports have trouble dealing with. But Kara is down the ultimate, and Tian's going to be on top of him. It's going to be tough for Kara to get out of.
Silence affecting Xin Zhao just a little bit less than other champions, and Tian picking up the kill does go unanswered, even as Guan shows up bot lane. They also know that he's not top, so Zweon gets to move through the top side and actually find a pick on Awesome, forcing a flash and a barrier, following him up with the Sonic Wave. Zhuo in trouble underneath the tower as well, and Top Esports make good use of plentiful information.
Down numbers, down tools. Top Esports use their tools better as Weon collapses, makes the play happen. Jackulov gets a lot of much-needed gold in his pockets while Cream able to solo push bot. And this all kind of starts off of Tien finding an off-tempo play when Malzahar's ult is down. It's a long cooldown. It's a powerful tool. Creates a numbers advantage that, again, with all the action going on bot, we talked about the seesaw. Look at the wave top for Zweon. It's high enough up where he can drop that, doesn't have to pressure that wave. He can come down, collapse, try and make a play on the map to impact his team. Beautiful use of dropping that wave before you get the crash to make a proactive play. You had numbers, Kara was down, and Top Esports get a small window and turn it into a big one as they get some gold back in their favor. But they do have to be wary of a Hextech solo going over to NIP, because Malzahar and Nineveh, that is oppressive enough to play against. I do not want to give those champions in a Corki a Hextech soul.
Yeah, would be devastating and becomes a reality in just about 3 minutes. Plenty of time, unfortunately, for Kara's flash to come off cooldown. I am watching these inventory slots like a hawk. In 3 minutes, is anybody going to have QSS? Or are we just 50-50 in Kara ulting?
I think that, this is like... All right, I'm not going to make that joke to you. I was about to say, this is like not doing your taxes and trying to dodge the IRS by not having the QSS here, Dia.
That makes sense. That makes sense. That's a fair joke.
I mean, you're really risking it for the biscuit. But they can only go after so many people, you know?
Sure,
there's only one ultimate from Care.
Can't be flash ulting Jackie Love and yeah.
Well, they are playing with fire though. This is okay. We have the first one from Jackulov. Jackulov's paying his taxes. That's good.
All good.
That's good. We've seen what happens when the taxes don't get paid, especially in that role. So good that Jackulov's able to make sure the QSS gets in. And I do think that Zhueyan's really going to need one too.
Yes. And you know what? About 1:40 left. He could probably pick one up in that time. Probably has the gold sitting in his coffers already. Quick play from NIP, though, does get them an advantage in the jungle. They've got Guan right next door to clear out a little bit of vision, and they are being really proactive about laying down that very same vision in preparation for the Dragon.
Yeah, and again, you can see the differences in formations. We talked about how Anivia and Malzahar, they don't really want to be in the side lane against Lee Sin. Actually going to TP now to try and fix this. As Weon a little bit nervous that the collapse could be coming in. He's going to be cautious and get on out. So a TP trade, I got to say, is kind of worth it there for NIP. But Anivia and Malzahar want to play grouped up. They want to play these 4-1s. They want to control one part of the map and force you to walk in. Which makes, I think, the next Dragon spawning even more diabolical. And the solution right now for top esports could be try and get the crab, clear out the vision, and maybe threaten Baron to pull them away from the dragon. Because they really don't have a lot of bot side river control at the moment. And while Cream is kind of fighting an uphill battle, killing the 2 control wards that were left down there by NIP, it's not top esports controlling the river. And if the river goes over to NIP, you got to walk through these Corki missiles, Anivia walls, Melzahar crap. Here does have flash. Not on Jackulov. We have to put our resources elsewhere now, if you are care.
He's got to play with the appropriate respect, and as you mentioned, Joyeon, who could really use it, needs to play with it as well. Silence does go down from Care. Cream steps a little too far forward, has taken a lot of damage for somebody who is not Nether Grasp, and actually burns the Ghost to get away and still barely survives. Hoya is making so much space for NIP off these storms that they just get to walk into the dragon.
I think that is Hextech Soul. This is an Anivia, a Melzahar, a Corki with a Hextech Soul. Unless Tien has other plans, there needs to be a hero for top esports. Tien going in, full off,
the wall, and Tien finds the smite! Let him go. Let him go. Wait, he has the Crescent Guard. Wait, Jackulov's in the back line. Wait a second. Top Esports change the fight. Into the egg goes Hoya. No more pressure here. A double kill for Cream. But Tien is the hero.
I mean, I was about to talk about how this series is going to 3, Dia. And with the hit of one D key from Tien, he drops the smite, finds the dragon. Jackulov flashes into the backline for the fight, and Top Esports has just thrown this game on its head. As again, the steal from Tien, the wall off is beautiful. It was the W. It's an early smite from Guwan. Tien snipes it. The flash from Kara was a little bit awkward. They find Zim, but this means that the Lee Sin go in the backline, get the cancel, and it was a massive combo from Joyeon and Jackulov, who flashes in out of the Cataclysm, completely destroys NIP in the backline as their control setup gets broken off of a smite from Tien, a combo from Joyeon, and Jackulov going nuts in the backline.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely marks of great ADCs we see all over the world. You know when it's safe. You know when it's time to commit, and Jackulov absolutely did. The setup from Tien and Joyeon, though, absolutely huge. Picking up the Hextech Soul and a 3-man knockup off a Lee Sin top. I don't expect my top laners to be able to play Lee Sin at a professional level like this. Not just raw. And that's what Joyeon is able to do.
Wow. I mean, I really felt like we're going to get a bonus game out of this one, Dia.
Yeah.
But now, look at the gold, the econ on, I mean, everyone for Top Esports. Looking across the board, Tien has access to a GA. Jackulov is about to not be slowed down by paying the tax to QSS. Picking up the IA, and Joe's gone. He's just dead.
I mean, even if he lands a bubble there, Jackulov's got QSS. This Yunara now even more inevitable than she typically is with a Lulu by her side. And the zoning from Hoya not working nearly as well into a Baron as it did before. Those triple Void Grubs coming in clutch as well, letting Top Esports do even more work in the short amount of time that they've got this Baron. About a minute left on this.
Shout Dia. We haven't really seen Cream be able to get to work in the side lanes on the rise, as he was picked on for a lot of this game by the Melzahar and the Anivia with the double counters in both solo lanes. But, man, I mean, what a Lee Sin pick coming out from Joyeon, and what a series from the young top laner Top Esports, who just continues to impress. And again, I mean, stepping into the shoes of 369, I don't think 369 was coming off of his best split 1.
Sure.
I know that 369 taking a break might be strategic for him. We could see him in the future, but Joyeon's playing his butt off, man, as he tries to take the spot.
We got a teleport coming in here, though. This could very easily be turned around. Jackulov already all over. Awesome, but awesome! The help of Zhuo will turn things around himself. Cream's gonna burn down, and Top Esports, fighting a fight on multiple fronts, are gonna send Joyeon into the front line as the next lamb to be sacrificed. And a delicious lamb it is, especially for us here on the broadcast, who now start thinking, maybe we are going that one more game after all.
Top esports moment. We're going to be late onto the map as top esports. It's Jueyan spawning 30 seconds before Dragon with no TP. Cream kind of in the same boat. I don't know. Okay, we are going to get a replay. I mean, Care is down 3 doubles on the Cream right now. And I see this play come in. Cream doesn't take a lot of damage, just cancel it early, which is appropriate from Care, but Jackie Love has a Jackie Love moment, sadly. As he does get caught by the tidal wave, he was Sumless, and he ends up going down. And then Cream popped the Seraph Shield before he ports in, so the Seraph Shield doesn't get any value, and he just kind of goes down to Care and a nice silence. So a lot more gold going back in the NIP, and we got to get back to live because we're 30 seconds away from Hexsoul, and it is a all full setup for NIP. They have all the setup that they want and need right now to try and choke out top.
Durex protecting me from knowing who has summoners. TN. Frontlining as
there he is.
Jueyan comes in through the back line looking for another one of those signature knockups. But he's been found out. And NIP start chasing him down. Guwon actually going to commit over the wall for this, forcing the kick early out of Jueyan as Care rockets back here as well through the Hextech gate. No cooldowns really available for Top Esports to find a team fight win like they did last time.
Jackie Love.
Hoya does get found by Jackie Love. Tidal Wave
Jackie
comes
QSS.
back to answer this. Look out for the smite as the Dragon goes to 2K. 1K Nethergrasp comes out, but Tien's out of it. Still, it will be the soul going to NIP as the fight has Top Esports still in charge. Into the GA goes Guwon, but he will go down. Numbers advantage temporarily for Top Esports, but the soul, all importantly, goes to the ninjas in pajamas.
The fact is a 2 for 2. NIP doesn't care. They're going to take the soul and run away with it. Awesome had a really good flash to make sure that he stayed alive in that fight. I think that's really important for what Top Esports could have done afterwards. And now, I mean, Top Esports, they've done a nice job of trying to close the gold gap. I think that Jueyan did a decent job of trying to find the flanks, trying to repeat what was so successful with them around the last Dragon fight, Dia. But the fact is a 2 for 2 and a Hex Soul. Now we're in the world where you have to walk through Anivia, Melzahar, Corki with a Hex Tech Soul. That's a bad world for any team to be in. As I do want you to focus on Awesome in the back half. First off, Tien going in does get the Melzahar ultimate casted on top of him. Guwon combos to make sure this goes over. Watch Awesome's flash here off the bubble from Cream. Flashes over the Q from Cream. That's what keeps him alive. And I think that's very important for the rest of this game because if he were to have gone down there, Top Esports might have been able to try and find the push. But Awesome staying alive, that does keep NIP's hopes even. And now, yes, it's a gold deficit, but there's a Hex Tech Soul on their shoulders. That's going to make life way harder for Top Esports in this game.
And Top Esports, from a tools perspective, have the ability to take fights. I mean, Hextech Soul changes quite a bit in the setup to those, but Jackie Love's still very powerful, and Jueyan still looking for
He's on
these
missions.
flank angles that he knows can win his team an engagement. One kick.
You know what would be great? A House of Blues Lee Sin skin. He's on a mission from God. Just in the back line. You know, the sunglasses could be the blindfold. I think NIP is kind of aware of this one, and Jueyan. There's no QSS. There is a TP. I think TP is the only way he gets out of this one, is he's going to try and play around NIP. But, oh, the turn! Wait, what? Green?
Hold up.
No tax? No QSS tax?
That was... I mean, I didn't see most of it, but that didn't smell like a good play from Cream, and it's certainly smelling like a Baron coming up for the Ninjas in Pajamas. Jueyan's still back here, though. I can still hold belief as Hoya zones the ever-living Baron out of Top Esports. Jueyan half HP, and another tidal wave. Gonna rock it out and find Tien. We have a teleport coming in as Jueyan takes a different angle, goes into the pit as Jackie Love takes the front line. Actually, into a Hextech Soul. We are not just taking the Baron. Top Esports take the fight as well.
Jackie Love and Fungue ran that fight. Tien was great at the disruption in there. And Dia, yesterday, game 1, NIP versus BLG. it was a BOG Hextech Soul that NIP was able to overcome and push down to win. Today, Top Esports trying to overcome NIP's Hextech Soul and push it down to win, and I think that fight just did it.
It was such a clean fight, so completely unexpected from Top
Hoya's so bummed,
Esports,
man.
and yet
Look at
they
Hoya.
will complete the Infinity Stones of their run through this first round robin. A win for Top Esports against the Ninjas in Pajamas. Completes a fantastic run for them, and as you mentioned in that game, Jueon especially, so much to be proud of from his Game 1 performance on Abessa to Game 2, some really critical flanks on Lee Sin. Goes from the LDL to, at least after this first round robin, top of the league.
You know what, Dia? On one hand, I think Top Esports showed some really clean, really clutch team fighting that did help them overcome NIP. But on the other hand, at the end of the first round robin for both teams, NIP is not a slouch at 4-3. They have flair. I think they have a play style that they're trying to play around. And this is a team that I really feel like can try and stick to the middle of Group Ascension and challenge any team in the league. Because I felt like this was much closer than the 2-0 that's going to be on your scoreboards in the match history for the Top Esports win. I do think that JackeyLove and FungYue deserve a lot of credit for how they were able to get a lead in that bot lane and then run with it. JackeyLove had one blip oopsie moment. Besides that, I thought he had a really solid game. But man, I like NIP, this is a team. You're playing Malzahar, Anivia, giving away the most obvious Rise mid-angle ever, and nearly play that to a victory. I thought the way they were playing the sides and overloading was really good. This team has a bit of sauce behind them. And that's not what I'm used to seeing from Hoya teams from NIP overall. I think that Hoya has had kind of gone from being a tank bot or an extreme weak side player. It still feels like he doesn't get all the resources, but the way in which he's finding ways to support his team and I think find some of these angles for unique top lane picks that he's been much more willing to pull out than other top laners in the LPL. It has been an asset to NIP at times, and for me, that makes them a little bit more of a contender than a pretender moving into the second round robin.
And when I think about it, especially on this Anivia pick, there were several times in this game where I was going, like Hoya is playing Anivia like she's a tank, and I don't mean that by in the sense that he's frontlining, but he is able to take up so much space, use the zoning tools that Anivia has so effectively. I think because he's so used to doing it on these tankier members, because he's put in the hours to understand his role in the team, when he does flex to something like Varus or Anivia, that ability to take up space and know where he is powerful, know where his circles of threat overlap with his teams and not, has been a really transferable skill.
Has been good. I think, again, spent some time talking about NIP. Of course, they were not the victors of this series, but for Top Esports on the flip side, 6-1 with TN in the lineup, coming back and picking up right where he left off in the LPL. I really think that Jueon in the top side has been one of the bigger surprises that we have had in the LPL, with how well that Jueon was really able to, again, he showed his own flair with that Lee Sin counter pick into Anivia, found the early kills, found some big angles in the team fights that really helped turn things around for Top Esports. And I think if you pair that with really solid bot lane play from JackeyLove and FungYue, which I think we saw outside of maybe one oopsie, that could be a very winning formula for Top Esports. It has been in the past. I think that at times, a lot of LPL fans view them as being maybe the C9 of the league, where their regular seasons are better than their playoff runs, where at times they fail to go international, or the last few international showings they've had haven't quite been good enough for fans. But we do always see the regular season performance, and I think really the style and what Top Esports is able to bring with Jueon in the top side is, I think, a unique flair to a team that is putting them at the top of the LPL standings in a pretty convincing fashion here.
I mean, that is a career-first Lee Sin for Jueon at the professional level, and it is in his first split, in his first round robin. I think you can definitely look at this game and go, JackeyLove performed really well, Tien had some incredibly clutch smites, but to me, it's a double Jueon MVP, if only for the fact that he was able to make up so much ground for his team that he should never have been able to create with this pick in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, again, I haven't seen this. I was looking at Anivia counters and I really got to talk about it, but A lot of fighters were there to counter Anivia. I like how, Dia, you're like viscerally reacting to this because, man, if NIP could have secured Soul then, maybe this game does go differently. But that fight, that combo from Shueyan and Tien into the Jackie Love cleanup, I think this was a really sick fight coming out of Top Esports, as they were... I really feel like Tien kind of came to play today. Really, for me, I think got the best of Guwon in both of these games, and Tien just continues to be a stud in the league this split.
Game 1, I mean, we definitely saw that the Ninjas in Pajamas, true to their form against BLG, they want to back up Guwon. They've got that right place, right time mentality, especially when it comes to the mid game, but it is their early games where Guwon is struggling to have a little bit of the same impact that he might otherwise hope for. A couple of stumbles in this game from Cream as well. Didn't feel like his impact was really felt on the rise. This really did come down to the Jackie Love performances when it comes to the damage and the Shueyan when it came to utility.
Well, I mean, I still feel like this game coming in was more competitive than what I expected from NIP. I think, like, for me, that's my big takeaway. I think I might have learned more about NIP in this series than I did about Top Esports. Outside of the fact that Shueyan might just be him. As the series that this guy had. I mean, Lee Sin and Bessa. I don't think he's going to get the plug for this game, but... Oh, Jesus, Cream. All right, well, that's a realm warp of all time. Doing his best Renard impression from yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, again, Jackie Love, the ability to pilot around Hoya here. Tien's entry. Oh, the Baron knockup. We missed that. The Baron knocking up two there was actually really, really big. Definitely helped Tien get in there, but again, the Jackie Love cleanup was really sound. And that was game. And that was the series. I'd say, again, a series that closer than what's going to say on the scoreboard. I really feel like NIP maybe need to work on that early game, that early lane phase a little bit more. Felt like they got blown up a bit by Top Esports in a couple of scenarios. But, man, the way they play as a team mid-game, their map movements are sound. They're making some good team plays. And they're proving they could be a competitive team in Group Ascension, which, as you pointed out before this game, Dia, they were not a part of Group Ascension going in Split 1. So to earn their spot, so they can compete in the middle of the table, that's a good first round robin for NIP, and I'm excited to see if they can build off it.
I mean, especially when we consider that it's not just like they qualified and then sort of stayed at that level, because IG during the playoffs, to qualify to the playoffs, NIP beat IG, which was like fantastic for them and their big promotion, but then they lose to the very same IG later that is now reformed. And so the difference between 50-50ing a game or a series against IG in playoffs and the NIP that we're seeing now, I mean, this NIP does not have that same performance in playoffs. Is what I'm saying making sense? Yeah, I'm saying they've improved.
A bit. They have improved. They have improved, yeah. I'm with you on that. I'm with you now. Sorry, I was just... You know, sometimes you don't want to scroll through the LPL production Discord. They're playing a game right now where they drew me, and I looked at it, and it looks like the bear is on fire. I have no idea what's going on in there. So I'm going to have to go in and ask some questions because we're off after this series. And we do have a 3-series night, so please stick around. It's going to be some craziness over here on the LPL English stream.
Yeah, I've got to go check out what's happening in the Discord now that you've tempted me like this. But our next series will be J2G versus WE, and Rudude and Rafa will be back to take care of you. And after that, we've got Anyone's Legend going up against Weibo Gaming. This 3-series Saturday is going to be an exciting one, so I would encourage you to go grab a drink of water as we take a quick break before our next series, and we'll see you back here.
Thank you so much to Dia and Cubby for holding it down on that first banger series between Top Esports and NIP. We've got 2 more series coming your way for our middle series between JDG and WE. It's going to be your boy Rafa and Rude Dude back at it again. Whenever we're together, Rude, we always get some amazing games. The last time we were together was JDG, no, not JDG, Anyone's Legends versus Top Esports, lower finals, last split.
And again, like you say, banger series. Now here we've got a series which, by all intents and purposes, doesn't look like it should deliver on that. But the reason they bought Rafa and I in is so that it does. Okay, so people at home, you're seeing WE on your screen, you're thinking, okay, we don't need to watch this one because they're 06, they're going to be 07. No! Don't you worry. We're going to have banger games regardless, all right? And that's what we're here for.
Checking out the standings real quick, just to remind everyone where we are at here in both Group Ascend and Group Nirvana. With that recent loss, Top Esports now solidify themselves as the sole #1 seed in the LPL for Split 2, while Ninjas in Pajamas still coasting at #3, but that is A-okay, as our next series does involve our #4 seed and our #8 seed in Group Ascend. Now let's go ahead and take a look at one of those rosters right now. Jindong Gaming, Xiaoshu in the top lane, Junja in the jungle, Hongq in the mid lane, Gala and Vampire together at bottom lane duo.
Yeah, and I think this is a really important game for the JDG players. Obviously, we took a quick look at the standings. Yes, they are 4th seed, but they're sort of a joint 4th with 3 series wins with a bunch of other teams. And they're playing up against WE, right? The expectation is that they should be able to take this series without too much difficulty. If that proves to be a problem, or if this series proves to be a problem, we then have some real big questions to call into this JDG roster. For me, it's keep your eyes on that jungle matchup, so I'm looking at that as we move through the later stages of this series. The story between these 2 players is obviously going to be quite nice, but as we move into what is our next team, WE, we'll see the roster that they are boasting for today.
That's right, Rude. We got Cube in the top lane. Tyrion, our new jungler for WE, starting in his 2nd series for the org. And then, of course, the rest of the lineup is Kars, About, and Arha. And I think with Tyrion joining this roster, we can go ahead and start looking at some of Tyrion's first looks after the idea and the concept that we want to kind of pose for everyone. Is WE fans are trying to decide for themselves, okay, by getting Tyrion, and since Monkey has taken a step back from competitive play to reset mentally for himself, new rookies and new players, when you look at rosters like Top Esports, are kind of flourishing. They're kind of pogging right now. So, potential rebuild angle, but then with rookies also comes risks, and that is what is a valid concern for WE fans right now.
Yes, they're on either a path to the old WE, or let's say the old WE, the WE of last year, where they brought in a new rookie in Monkey, and they had a wonderful time. Split 2, they looked like a crazy good team. Or are they heading back to Nirvana, where they sort of rounded out their time of things in recent history? And Tyrion going to be at the helm for that. We did get an opportunity to go back to look at what Tyrion has been doing, and you were highlighting in the green room that there are a lot of unconventional gank timers, but I will say here, this 3 versus 3, this was in their series that he's only played 1 of, right, up against Weibo, had a good time of things in the early game up against Jeje, and finding a couple of early on ganks, getting his team ahead was his ideal, and managed that a couple of times, was also, you can see here, quite happy to sacrifice himself. My concern though, Rafa, is as we get into the mid game, as we move into the mid to the late game even, being able to keep pace with these more veteran junglers is just not something that we can particularly, or that I didn't see from him in the first series. You'll notice how that gank that we just saw was at 7 minutes in the last game, and we were already going on to the next one, and these back half clips are sort of some of those failed attempts that we may well see as well.
Yeah, and I can understand the idea for WE in bringing Tyrion on is thinking, okay, you know what? What made WE super powerful in prior iterations, especially their amazing run last year in Split 2, was Monkey and Vampire just kind of running the rift, being super aggressive, just being able to
completely dismantle the structure for a lot of enemies' win conditions before they got online. And I can see that maybe they're trying to replicate some of that same magic by forcing Tyrion and Arha to play with each other. Well, that's why there's a lot of bot lane focus there.
It is, absolutely. And we highlighted the bot lane as well, sort of in particular. We've seen, honestly, some pretty decent things from the WE bot lane, like getting that advantage in that first series, or in that first game that we just saw the clip of. Definitely something to keep our eyes out for. And as far as WE go, about maybe feels like one of the lower points of liability for this side, but obviously we're coming in. This is a really difficult series for Team WE to really look at, right? JDG, a team that have done incredibly well in their opening split, maybe to come into split number 2. Not quite the same highs, but that's because we've got some really, random upstarts that people weren't expecting. If they had got those games up against your NIPs, your top esports, they'd be looking with a much better record at this stage. But either way, it's a really good look for JDG this time out. They should be able to put themselves to 4-3. We're expecting that to be the case here. But for WE, it's about putting that train on the right tracks, turning their sort of story around in this split. Because again, in that Split 2 series that we had, or in that Split 2 from last year, we had a pretty similar start to this. It was a pretty disastrous opening. We've seen WE go on these big losing streaks before. It was Split 1 last split, where they were in a, we had the really bad Split 1 format where there was just 4 groups of 4 and they got absolutely wiped in every best of 5 through Split 1. And then coming into Split 2, again, it started off quite poorly, but then they turned things around, and we're just hoping for something like that again this time out.
It ended with a capstone of knocking out the prior split champions in top esports in the 5th, 6th place column, and then being a top 4 team finishing in Split 2, which WE would love to be able to replicate that same magic run. And right now, Rude, the conditions are kind of set for it so far, because WE on the official broadcast for the LPL was highlighting that they are currently on a 7 series lose streak so far, which means that their series score extends all the way to playoffs. And just put that in perspective.
Yeah, they will be eager, won't they, to try and turn something around as well, and just trying to start putting games on the board as well for this WE team. I think is going to be really important. It's going to be such a big confidence booster to have found some sort of success to begin with. And if it doesn't come from this sort of Tyrion Arha pairing that they've tried to put together, I would like to put some attention onto Karis in the mid lane. He was a player who, in last split, for me, was looking like a pretty impressive mid laner. I'd had a lot of questions about Karis, and when he then started to show up just a little bit, when WE looked good, it typically was because Karis was the one pushing them over and making good things happen. You do have to look at that mid lane and hope that that can be the case. And in fairness to this JDG roster, or to WE in this case, if I look at the JDG roster, that's not an easy task. He's playing up against Hongq. This guy has come in. He hasn't been as flashy or as incredible as we saw from, World Hongq we were hoping for at the start of the split. But this guy's been holding his own, and he's going to make Karis' life very, very tricky.
Hongq has definitely had some pretty strong performances. I know some criticisms from our other colleagues have been that Hongq, even with these leads, isn't doing enough to leverage them and kind of 1v9 and be the clutch person on the team when they need him to be able to make it done. I love that the official broadcast is highlighting the jungle matchup. That's kind of already where eyes have been. They're also looking at the support matchup as well between Arha and Vampire, as both of these two, the newer pieces of WE for this Split 2 foundation, trying to see if they can recreate some of those wins that this team desperately needs. And I want to look at Tyrion going into his overall second series with this team. We saw that the early ganks were, for the most part, good concept, executed maybe above 80%. Sometimes they had to die to make certain trade-offs happen and get about ahead. Because remember, about being the rookie of the split for Split 1, impressive breakout performance for this roster. If he and Karis can hit their ceilings that we saw in Split 1, this team can pick up wins. But we already knew even before the woes and the struggles started coming in that going into Group Ascent was going to be a tough challenge.
Yeah, it always is. I mean, the names that they are playing up against in this group are just that of legend at this point in the LPL. And, you know, with the league having been around for such a good long duration now, the majority of the teams in Ascend at this stage have had those pretty glorious runs. I mean, you look across the list of names, you know, you're looking at maybe NIP and Anyone's Legend as the two teams that haven't had the storied legacy runs out of the rest of the rosters here. And then you think about what they've been able to do in recent history, right? AL, massive performance in Split 2 last year. NIP currently on a surprise heater coming into this Split 2 itself. So there's lots and lots up for grabs in terms of LPL naming prize or naming convention, I suppose. Who's the strong team? Who's this? Who's that? But we're moving into the draft now for game number 1, Mark. JDG take on with the blue side here, and it's WE with first pick.
So far, some targets really on one of the best mid laners in the game right now with Orianna. Karma taken off as well, whereas Varus and Mbessa mostly focused towards top lane. Varus obviously can be picked bot lane, but we have definitely seen some top lane Varuses just be able to interact as a flex. But right now, jungle pool is wide open with the Rise Band being the last one from WE.
Yeah, I like the Ambessa takeaway, honestly. Just in general, I really despise this champion. It does mean that, I mean, with that being off the board, we're not going to see some throwbacks to the last series where it'd end up being about, maybe if they're giving over the Ambessa, about getting caught out by errant public executions, the Karma taken off the board as well. But like you say, Mark, jungle completely up for grabs. We've got Xin Zhao, Jarvan, all of these high-profile picks in the jungle still ready for the taking. And with the Rumble here for WE, Jarvan priority increases a lot in this game. You want to deny the hot pot combo, but you also want to be able to work your way into a position where you can lock the Rumble down quite easily. Immobile topside, really easy to gank. And you're oohing there, Mark. I'm assuming it's because the Seraphine and Ashe pairing have been split up.
JDG are taking the gamble that WE are not going to take an Ashe without a Seraphine pairing. Now, I know that there have been some global splittings of the Ashe Seraphine with an Ashe Melio or a Seraphine Misfortune, but WE are not going to take that gamble. They don't want to try anything that's a little too out of their comfort zone for the bot lane, so might as well just give up the Ashe over to JDG and then lock in the strongest topside answer you can go for with Skarner and Azir.
And I don't mind this top side at all for WE, right? They've got some really good frontline already in the Skarner. They've got good team fight with the Rumble, and they've got the Azir for Karis to be able to be that consistent DPS threat again, relying a little bit more on comfort more than anything else for Karis on this Azir. The Ashe Seraphine pairing does get locked in, so this means as we look forward, we've already got the foundation of two massive team fighting compositions. Jarvan looking to flag and drag, slam people into that Cataclysm, can actually do really well versus the Skarner because the Skarner wants to get in the mixer, try and disrupt the backline. If you as Jarvan just put the Skarner in a little corner inside the Cataclysm and then flag and drag out and contribute to the rest of the fight, that can be a really good way to disrupt the flow of a Skarner play pattern.
It also makes any marksman that does not have a dash or some kind of escape tool outside of Flash less incentivized for about to pick up here. Strangely enough, though, JDG are fearing a Jhin out of about, just assuming that WE is so determined to make a heavy dive composition that Jhin could facilitate that somewhat. Whereas WE, they're starting to sniff out some potential Hong Q mid lane counters.